Parents secretly charged $115K on my credit card for my sister's Europe trip, so I reported it as fraud, leading to major family fallout. Though I never imagined I would be producing an article like this, here I am still in shock and bewilderment over what my parents have done. Alex, 28. Has a younger sister, Emma, 22F, who recently graduated from college. Although our parents have always been, let's say, fascinating in their style of raising their children, this most recent act infuriates me. For background, I have always been the family's responsible one. After working hard in school, I applied for scholarships, and straight out of college earned a decent position in finance. Since I was 22, I have been financially independent. I am glad of what I have done. Emma, on the other hand, has always been the family's young darling. I love my sister, so don't get me wrong. Yet our parents have clearly pampered her. Emma was always obviously the favorite growing up. She was never forced to work a part-time job or help with housework. She acquired the newest appliances and outfits. Focusing on my own objectives and future, I tried not to let it disturb me too much. Nevertheless, occasionally the partiality was difficult to overlook. One specific event came to me when Emma was 10 and I was 16. Months of saving had gone into a new gaming system purchase. Excitedly telling my parents I was heading to the store to buy it, the day I at last had enough money. They answered shockingly, "Oh, we already got one for Emma last week, you are welcome to share hers." Though I was heartbroken, I tried to be happy for my sister and stashed my disappointment. Still, forward swiftly toward the present. Emma recently finished with a degree in communications. She worked hard and deserves to celebrate her accomplishment, hence I am actually proud of her. I also gave her a beautiful graduation present, a new laptop she had been coveting. I heard from my mother last week. She was bursting with enthusiasm, sharing with me Emma's ideal graduation present, a month-long trip throughout Europe. Thinking Emma's gift from our parents was a kind one, I was pleased for her. The shocking revelation then came. "We used your credit card to book it all," my mother remarked dismissively, as though it were the most natural thing in the world. "We needed the points from your card to upgrade some of the flights and hotels, thus we will pay you back, naturally." I had no words. What I was hearing defied belief. When I finally recovered my voice, I inquired about their expenditure. The response made me feel as though I had been pummeled in the gut. $155,000. $155,000 on my credit card without authorization or knowledge. Trying to keep my voice steady. "Mom," I continued, "you cannot just use my credit card without asking me. That's illegal. $155,000 is a lot of money." She discounts my worries. "Oh, Alex, be not too theatrical. It relates to the graduation of your sister. Family looks out for one another. Beyond that, we're good for it. Eventually we will pay you back." Finally. Even then, what did that mean? And because $155,000 is just casual about when. My mother wasn't hearing it when I attempted to explain to her why this was such a big deal. The effect on my credit score, the fact that I might need the credit limit for emergencies, the pure betrayal of trust. "You have always been so selfish," she remarked, her voice going icy. "Could you simply be glad for your sister? This is her big moment. Your penny-pinching habits are trying to destroy it." What I was hearing defied belief. For complaining about an illegal $155,000 transaction on my credit card, I was seen as selfish. I hung up the call feeling a mixture of hurt, wrath, and incredulity. I tried to talk to my dad over the next few days, expecting he would be more reasonable, but he confirmed what my mother had said, that I was exaggerating? And I should encourage my sister more. Emma, for her part, appeared completely blind to the circumstances. She simply gushed about how thrilled she was about the trip and thanked me for helping her to graduate. When I tried to discuss it with her, I thought I was insane. Was I indeed the irrational one present? To contest the charges, I decided to phone the credit card company. However, to my astonishment, I found that my parents had booked everything online using my card details, which they had in case of an emergency. The credit card company said that it wasn't deemed fraud as I had provided them with my details. I now have a $115,000 debt, a maxed-out credit card, and a family who believes I'm being self-serving for not wanting to pay for my sister's expensive trip. The individuals who are meant to love and encourage me have betrayed me, hurt and angered me. What to do eludes me. Though I know that would cause great family strife, part of me wants to call off the entire vacation. Another side of me wants to simply pay it off to save the drama, but $115,000 is a lot of money and the idea of the thing truly disturbs me. Furthermore, allowing this fall could set a standard for more financial mistreatment going forward. Is my reaction too strong? Should I just swallow it and pay for my sister's vacation, or should I stick to it even if it means maybe souring ties with my family? I could really use some guidance. I feel lost. Update 1. I appreciate all of your advice and encouraging words. The sheer reaction to my post really startled me. Reviewing your responses helped me to see that my anger over this scenario was not insane. I felt violated. Considering your counsel, I decided to proceed. I first escalated the problem by phoning my credit card provider once more. I detailed the circumstances, stressing that although my parents had my card information for an emergency, I had never approved this particular use. Following some back-off, they decided to look at the charges as possible fraud. I then asked for a family Zoom call to go over the matter and texted Emma and my parents groupwise. Before acting more forcefully, I wanted to let them have an opportunity to write this. The call was, at least mildly intense. I began gently outlining why their acts were unacceptable, the legal ramifications, the mistrust, and the financial burden it placed on me. I informed them they had to immediately cancel the vacation since I had reported the charges as fraudulent. The response of my parents did not reflect what I had hoped. They were outraged, accusing me of being dramatic and seeking to spoil Emma's graduation party. My mother went so far as to add, "We raised you, clothed you, and covered your head with a roof. The least you could do is assist your sister in having a lifetime of travel." I inhaled deeply and answered, "You decided to have children. Your obligation as parents was to support us. It does not mean you are free to use credit cards under my identity." Emma, who had been calm up until now, started crying. She wailed, "I can't believe you're trying to ruin my graduation gift. You have always harbors envy of me. Why can't you simply be glad for me once?" Her comments stung, but they also sharpened my will. I knew this pattern of entitlement and favoritism ran deep, and it was time to create some clear limits. "Emma," I continued, trying to keep my voice soft but strong, "I'm glad for you and I'm proud of your graduation. But this vacation was booked illegally with money taken without permission. It's not okay and it's not a gift from me." At last, my normally quiet dad spoke up. "Son, we didn't think it was such a big deal. For crises, we have always had access to your card. As a family, we simply reasoned that this one occasion would be acceptable." What I was hearing defied belief. "Dad, this was not an emergency and $155,000 is not a small sum. You cannot only choose to spend my money without consulting me." Emma was crying, my parents were furious, and I felt exhausted but determined when the call finished. Insisting that I was overreacting and that they would reimburse me shortly, they refused to call off the trip. Following the conference, I moved forward. I told a buddy of mine, a lawyer, the circumstances. He cautioned me that, should I decide to take legal action, what my parents did was in fact illegal and grounds for legal action exist. I also reported the illegal credit card use by going to the police station. The officer I spoke with took down all the specifics and was sympathetic. He advised me that although following charges would probably cause a significant divide in my family, I was quite within my rights to do so. About what to do going forward, I'm still divided. I adore my family, on one hand, yet I get nauseous thinking about suing them. Conversely, their behavior is inappropriate, hence if I do not act strongly right now, this kind of behavior may resurface in the future. I have chosen to wait and see for now what results from the credit card company's inquiry. To stop any more illegal usage of my information, I also froze my credit. This whole scenario has let me know I had to set more rigid rules for my family. Though I've always attempted to be the peacekeeper, that is, to straighten things out and maintain everyone's happiness, I have let myself be repeatedly exploited in doing so. Though I'm hurt and outraged, I also feel an odd sort of empowerment. I'm standing up for myself and saying no, this is unacceptable, for the first time. Though unpleasant and frightening, it also seems vital. Again, thanks all for your support and guidance. Once I have more updates on the credit card inquiry or if anything else comes of course with my family, I will update once more. Update 2. My previous update was several weeks ago and a lot has transpired. I wish to thank them once more for their help and guidance. Your remarks have been a lighthouse through this trying period. First, the good news. My credit card company's inquiry came back positive. They reversed the charges since they agreed they were illegal. Having that $115,000 weight off of my shoulders relieves a great deal. Now let's consider familial fallout. All hell exploded when my parents and Emma discovered the credit card dispute had caused the trip to be cancelled. Furious calls and texts swamped my phone. Saying I had destroyed Emma's life, my mother left an especially angry message labeling me a selfish, unappreciative son. Emma went to social media and shared a moving video about how her spiteful brother had ruined her dream graduation trip. A few of our shared friends and relatives began contacting me to find out why I was treating my younger sister so badly. The matter was spiraling out of control, and I knew I had to straighten the record. I posted a calm, objective piece outlining what had actually happened. How my card had been used without my consent and how I had tried to mend things with my family prior to acting with the credit card company. The reaction to my post was uneven. Some were encouraging, expressing dismay at the behavior of my parents. Others felt I ought to have just taken one for the team and let Emma travel. Finding out how many others felt it acceptable to conduct fraud as long as it was for the family opened eyes. A few days following my post, my mother's sister called me unexpectedly. She offered some family history I hadn't learned before and showed understanding of my circumstances. My mother apparently had a history of financial irresponsibility and has past taken advantage of family members. My aunt gave me her support and urged me to be firm. Talking with my aunt helped me to see that the problem went beyond one occurrence. Years of enabled and excused behavior have set a habit of behavior. I understood then that I had to keep strict limits not only for my own benefit but also to stop the cycle of financial mistreatment. I made the decision to go really big. For the foreseeable future, I informed my parents I would be not interacting with them at all. I said I couldn't trust them right now and I needed time to sort through what had happened. Emma also heard me say that although I loved her and felt good about her accomplishments, I wanted some distance from her too. Their responses were almost always unfavorable. My parents charged me with severing the family. Emma sobbed and stated I was punishing her for something outside her control. Though difficult, I stayed to be sure of my choice. Amid all this family turmoil, I have been especially focused on shielding myself against potential financial mistreatment. I replaced all of my passwords, closed the credit card my parents had access to, and opened a fresh one at another bank. To work through my emotions about the circumstances and create better limits, I have also begun visiting a therapist. One unanticipated benefit of this whole process is that it has brought me closer to a few relatives and my aunt, who contacted me to provide encouragement. Knowing that not every member of my family finds what my parents did acceptable is good. Regarding Emma's graduation vacation, I learned via the family grapevine that her parents are still considering sending her someplace. Though I keep reminding myself that it wasn't my obligation to offer that for her, part of me feels bad about her missing the Europe vacation. I still find myself battling doubt and remorse. Sometimes I worry whether I did the right thing or too hard, but then I remember the violation I felt when I found out what they had done and I know I made the correct decision in speaking out for myself. Though it's a painful wake-up call, this event has also been a valuable lesson in self-respect and establishing limitations. I'm finding that love shouldn't have a price tag and that saying no, even to family, is okay. Again, I appreciate your support. For now, I'm concentrating on mending and moving forward. I will post should there be any noteworthy changes. Update 3. My last update was almost 2 months ago, hence I wanted to let you all know some advancements. Over this trying period, your ongoing support and guidance has been priceless. Let us start with the most urgent matter, the legal one. Following much thought and legal advice, I opted against charging my parents. This wasn't a simple choice, and I know many of you suggested I file a lawsuit. My attorney noted though, that since the credit card company had reversed the charges, going for a criminal prosecution would be difficult and maybe expensive without any assurance of victory. Rather, we have formally written my parents a cease and desist letter telling them that any future use of my financial data will cause instant legal action. Now, on the family matter. The no-contact period with Emma and my parents has been instructive and difficult at once. It allows me time to consider our family dynamics and concentrate on myself. Having regularly attended therapy, which has been quite beneficial in helping me to process my emotions and create better limits, about 1 month into the no-contact period, Emma sent me an uninvited email. Unlike her earlier crying claims, this email was refreshingly adult. She said she had given it much thought and came to see how mistaken our parents' behavior was. She felt bad about her first response and about not defending me. Emma said she had always known about the favoritism but had been too comfortable and afraid to question it. Though I was cautiously hopeful by Emma's email, I decided to go gently. Since then, we have had a few phone calls. From what I can see, she is actually attempting to grasp my viewpoint. She had earlier kept to herself some of her own experiences with our parents' financial carelessness. The aborted Europe trip seemed to be a wake-up call for her as well. Regarding my parents, they have been less ready to take accountability. From guilt-tripping emails to enraged voicemails, they have tried multiple times to reach me. One day, my mother even showed up at my apartment without warning, creating quite a disturbance in the corridor. Though it was tough, I stayed my ground and avoided interacting. The extended family dynamics have been conflicted. Some families have been encouraging, especially my aunt who first got in touch. She is now a great friend and ally. Others, using the "but their family" justification, nevertheless encourage me to reconcile with my parents. For my own mental peace, I have had to cut ties to some of these cousins. Positively, nonetheless, this circumstances has resulted in some unanticipated personal development. Spending the time and effort I used to manage the drama in my family has helped me to concentrate more on my own life and aspirations. I have started a new pastime, photography, and have been spending more time with pals that honor my limits. I have also made some really important financial choices. I started establishing a stronger emergency fund and have been more generous to my retirement funds. The value of financial freedom and stability has been really emphasized by this whole experience. Last week brought one especially fulfilling event. At work, I got a promotion accompanied by a significant wage raise. I might have felt obliged in the past to tell my family this news and the money gained. This time I celebrated privately with a small group of close friends, glad of my achievements free from guilt or obligation to share. Regarding Emma's graduation vacation, my aunt told me our parents ultimately sent her on a 2-week California tour. Emma apparently had fun with it. Looking ahead, I'm somewhat hopeful but yet wary. I have chosen to keep my parents under no contact for at least 3 more months. I need more time to recover and evaluate whether they can honor my limits. Emma allows me to gently restore our friendship, but I'm moving carefully and keeping clear limits. This encounter has really helped me to learn about the real meaning of family, standing up for myself, and establishing limits. Family, I've come to see, is about love, respect, and support as much as blood ties. The friends and relatives who have supported me during this struggle have shown me what actual family entails. About financial freedom, I have also gained a useful insight. Although I have always been frugal with money, this scenario has made me especially more alert. On all of my accounts, I have added extra security measures. I have also become more aggressive in safeguarding my financial data, even from relatives. Particularly during family gatherings I missed because of the no-contact policy, there have been times of uncertainty and grief. Mother's Day proved especially challenging, but I remind myself that my mental health and personal development depend on this distance. One unanticipated result of this is that I have started to be really helpful to friends handling personal family financial problems. Many people have come to me seeking guidance on establishing limits and handling financially reckless family members. Being able to guide others through the same circumstances makes one feel wonderful. Regarding my parents' financial circumstances, my aunt has told me they are having trouble. Apparently, they had been depending on my credit for purposes beyond Emma's vacation. This has caused some conflict between them since my dad holds my mom responsible for pushing too far with the credit card theft. Though part of me feels bad knowing they are facing money problems, I tell myself that their bad financial choices are not my duty to correct. Emma has offered some observations on how our parents responded to all of this. She adds they still don't really know why I responded so passionately. They can't understand why I'm making such a big deal out of it. They view their activities as natural family behavior. This ignorance irritates me, but it also helps me to realize that I made the correct choice in separating myself. After much thought on my early years and early adulthood, I came to see trends of financial and emotional control I had accepted. Though it's been a difficult journey, it also releases something. I'm learning to validate my own emotions and experiences apart from parental approval. Regarding my personal life, I have lately started dating once more. Dealing with all this familial drama, I had been reluctant to interact with anyone. But lately I came across someone who has been rather sympathetic about my circumstances. Though early days, it feels fantastic to be developing a relationship with someone who upholds my values and limits. I'm also thinking about drastically altering my life. Though I have always wanted a master's degree, I put it off somewhat because of worries about how it would affect my capacity to support my family financially. I'm now really researching programs and thinking about diving in. Making decisions grounded just on what's best for my future and me feels empowering. I find as I draft this update how much has changed in a few months. The first shock and resentment had subsided to be replaced by a cool determination. I'm actively building the life I want for myself, not only responding to the behavior of my family. To those of you perhaps handling such familial problems, I want to say it gets better. Although setting limits is difficult and there can be reactions, keep firm. Your rights include those to guard your mental health, money, and personal belongings. Again, I appreciate all of your support on this trip. Your guidance and support have been a lifesaver. Though I'm not sure what the future holds for my connection with my sister and parents, I know I will be fine whatever comes of it. Right now I'm stronger, more certain of myself, and ready to meet whatever lies ahead. If there are any major changes, I will notify once more. For now, I am focused on forward-looking and creating the life I want surrounded by supportive people. Here's wisdom earned and fresh starts. Update 4. My last update was 6 months ago, and I felt it was time to let all of you, who have been so encouraging over this path, know the most recent developments. First, the most news. I have been accepted into a master's program in a city 3 hours from where I presently live. This 2-year financial technology program fits very nicely with my professional objectives. Starting this fall, I am equal in excitement and anxiety about this new phase of my life. Choosing to work for this degree was not simple. It involves quitting my career, relocating to a new place and starting some student debt, but it also means making investments in my future, in the manner I have always wanted. I came to see that I had been holding back, constantly weighing how my choices might affect my family. It seems quite freeing to now be choosing based on what would be best for me. Regarding my family, things have changed in ways I never would have predicted. 2 months ago, the no-contact period with my parents formally came to an end. I agreed to a family therapy session run under the direction of a professional therapist. It was quite strong. Defensively still believing they had done nothing wrong, my parents arrived, but as the session went on, some shockingly real facts emerged. My dad had hidden from everyone, including my mom, a large loss of money from a poor investment. For months they had been covertly struggling financially, and they looked to my credit card to keep appearances. Many tears and accusations followed from this insight. My dad felt guilty of his bad financial choices, my mom felt deceived by his silence, and both of them at once seemed to realize the weight of what they had done to me. Although this justification does not absolve their behavior, it did enable me to see the desperation driving their bad decisions. The therapist guided us through some of these problems, and for the first time both of my parents sincerely apologized. Monthly family therapy sessions are going to continue under our agreement. Though I'm still keeping strict limits and it's a gradual process, I feel cautiously hopeful about reconstructing our connection on better terms. Emma has kept developing and maturing. She moved into her own apartment and started working full-time in order to reach financial independence. Our conversations have become more frequent, and I feel as though I am first starting to know my sister as an adult. She has even sought guidance on saving and budgeting, which is a major advancement in our relationship. Personal-wise, the relationship I highlighted in my last update has evolved into something unique. Though it means we will be doing long distance for a period, Sarah has been quite encouraging of my choice to return to school. Her own experiences with establishing limits with family have made her a great source of insight and encouragement. Financially, I am in good shape. Thanks to the encouragement I got, I was able to somewhat offset the expenses of graduate school and save a sizable sum for my move. I have also started to defend my financial data far more aggressively. I recently had to turn down an attempt by a distant relative to guilt me into co-signing a loan. Though it wasn't easy, I stood my ground and felt good about imposing limits. I've been thinking about how much has changed since that first startling phone call from my mother concerning the credit card charges as I get ready for this next phase of my life. The hurt and resentment I had then have mostly disappeared. Instead, I now feel empowerment and self-assurance I never realized I had. This process has taught me so much. Even, and especially, with family, I now see the value of establishing and upholding limits. True family, whether related by blood or by choice, promotes your development and respects your boundaries. I have come to see that it is okay to give my own well-being and future top priority. Thank you to everyone who has tracked my narrative and provided encouragement and guidance along the road. During some quite trying circumstances, your words have been a lighthouse of strength and clarity. To anyone who might be experiencing similar family conflicts, know that it is possible to emerge on the other side wiser and stronger. I am excited and full of possibilities as I pack my flat and get ready for this new journey, not something I have felt in years. I'm glad of how far I have gone, and I am excited about what the future presents. I'll be busy with my move and starting school, hence I might not update again for some time. Nonetheless, I will always be appreciative of the help I have gotten here. Here are fresh starts, acquired knowledge, and the bravery to design the life we wish for personally. Caught my cheating wife at a secret hotel. My wife was surprised when I gave her divorce papers in the hotel lobby. Hello everyone, I hope each of you is doing great. I am writing on my phone, hence apologies for any mistakes. This is a rather long and disorganized tale. I have nowhere to negotiate this problem as I have run out of my rope. Little background. My SO is 40 and I am 43. Married for 16 years, we have 2 children, a 9-year-old boy and a 14-year-old daughter. At first, our marriage was somewhat turbulent, but we worked through those difficult years and came out much different. We married young, hence maturity wasn't completely there yet. Nevertheless, We knew we loved each other and could overcome any challenge standing between our marriage. Whether this was wishful thinking still remains a question. Still, I have been in engineering for 7 years while my wife has worked for 3 years as a manager in a very large advertising agency. Our careers pay nicely and have given our family a quite nice way of life. We were a rather close family. As parents, we always made sure our children could create wonderful memories. We always found time for our children no matter how busy we became. To be honest, I think I'm a decent husband and dad. When it came to my wife, I occasionally messed up. But I did everything for this woman, and it really shook me to my very core to learn she was having a long-term affair. Which leads me to the revelation. My wife was acting far away. Actually, the last 2 years preceding this one were the toughest. She just seemed to enjoy nothing I did. Yes, I know now. She would constantly tell me how her boss would handle this or that and continually contrasting me with her employer. Not able to grasp her mind. She can, however, ask her supervisor. Make her feel unique and avoid starting the initiative to take her on dates. Her supervisor does that for his wife though. Why was my immaturity so extreme? I would want to know how she wanted me to liven up our marriage. Her usual response was, "Don't ask, you need to already know and do it." So since I knew nothing, I investigated and bought books, anything. The response has to come from someone else. Everything I tried was greeted with either half-hearted thanks or bitter disappointment. In the years I have known her, my wife was never like this, therefore I felt that my failure to make her happy was something I really had to address. Little did I know, the entire time the repairing was being done by someone else. We were really close to her employer and his wife. They have children as well. The children adored one another. We brought them to our family trips to the park, barbecues, arcade gaming days. We have gone to theirs and they have visited our place many times. Not surprising that we grew close. When I told her boss about our marriage issues, he offered wise counsel. He seemed to be a great man. Still back to the discovery though. The demands of my wife to better myself where the marriage was concerned had emotionally worn me out. Her attitude really surprised me since, up until now, I had felt our marriage was wonderful. She was thus busy chuckling and laughing one night while messaging someone. Curious, I was also next to her in bed. She fiercely pushed away from me the instant I leaned to get a look. She asked me right away what I was doing, furious. She withdrew to the restroom when I told her I wanted to find out what the joke was and she said it was none of my business. That is the day I realized, deep down, that there was an affair of sorts underway. Though I lacked evidence as well. The next day I asked her straightforwardly, making a mistake. She was enraged and claimed no guilt. I wanted the truth badly even if I lacked access to her phone. She balked when I asked for her phone. She handed me the phone hesitantly only later in the evening. She deleted almost every text message she sent to particular individuals. I could tell since some of the exchanges sounded contradictory and others seemed absolutely ludicrous. I returned the phone to her, and we didn't talk about it until a month later when I got a friend to check the phone and retrieve erased texts. My wife had received another phone earlier and seldom used the one she handed me. Some books were found, and it was via bits and pieces that I at last found evidence of an affair underway. And you already figured it out, with her supervisor. I waited since I knew she would find some way to wiggle out of it if I addressed her then and there. But I was a wreck too. My only thought was on how it would impact the children. The scenario was terrible. I started crying in front of my friend. 3 days later I ordered How to Help Your Spouse Heal from an Affair, still not ready to give up the marriage. If you are shaking your head, it is okay. I began reading, expecting that if I showed my wife, she would stop this crap. I wanted the marriage saved and my wife back off. She had told me they had an emergency at work and not to wait for her, so I had intended to chat to her on that Saturday to sort things out. Of course, I called the office on the day to verify the narrative she told me and got no response. Saturdays are not open. I tried her phone but there was no response. On Sunday, around 2 in the morning, she returned home, showered right away and went to bed. When I questioned her about her late arrival, she sidestepped the inquiry by claiming she had already advised me not to wait for her. I was tired of this. I left her the book I purchased absent-minded. She did not care. I was hurting. She didn't care when she saw me in agony. To find out, I asked the wife of her boss whether she knew anything. I still don't regret doing it since I was so yearning for stability. Finding out startled her as much as it did me. She wanted to face her husband, but I advised her he would most likely lie and try to cover it like my wife did. We got together at her residence to go over what was happening, and I handed her the meager evidence we had. She needed further proof, Hence we both set out to compile data on our respective sides and then compare them. Starting to spy more on my wife, she followed suit with her husband. She found clear evidence quite easily on her end. Her husband was so conceited that he omitted deleting the texts on his phone between him and my wife. The small notes I'd discovered earlier at last made sense, and we now knew 2 years had been the duration of the affair. I was enraged, just as the wife of the employer was. I wanted retribution on them as well as she did. Everywhere they slept, her house, my house, fancy hotels, business travels. Reading all that made one queasy. They even emailed each other pictures, but we decided to overlook them since we wanted not to damage ourselves with the pictures. Though not an affair ourselves, we sought retribution. We both resolved that they could have each other if they so desired. About the same time, we each gathered divorce paperwork. We were dead set on it. We acted our part. Our husbands were unaware of what we knew. Our ducks were back then in a row, once more. This time, working with the wife of the boss, we knew exactly where and how they would be received. We knew the motel they had reserved for their good weekend. I visited there together with the sheriff. While the sheriff arranged everything, I waited in the lobby. My wife was called to come down from her room. She dropped down wearing a bathrobe and, I worry, nothing else. She was terrified and asked me furiously what I was doing there. Though not too distant, it was rather a distance from our house. The sheriff wanted her name and details confirmed. She responded ambiguously in the affirmative and was served. Seeing the startled expression on her face was quite fulfilling, but I chose to leave knowing the job was done as I did not want to bring it under discussion. She held my arm, dragged me back and insisted on knowing what the meaning of this was not letting me. You had an affair, I told her, and I'm leaving you, simplified. She began shouting at me then grabbed my arm firmly. The sheriff had to intervene and order her to release me immediately. She told me she could explain, that I had the wrong notion, and that it was my fault. She started crying. I left fast to get home since I was getting enraged. When my wife told her boss, he fretted. According to what I was told, he hurried home only to find himself served. We gave them no time to straighten their heads. We blindsided them exactly as they did us. While hers might take some more time, my divorce will be finalized in a few months. On the divorces, both my wife and her supervisor have been battling us. Neither want to file for divorce. The reasons I have heard are that they never meant to leave their husbands, that it was only a purely sexual affair and nothing more, that people have worse indiscretions and still come out with a fantastic marriage, that they messed up and would like a chance to right things. What, I asked my wife, do you suppose the result of all this is? She said she is not that person anymore and said she was following the flow and behaved totally against nature. She is a moron, I told her. For not giving my wife another chance, others around me are labeling me horrible. Though they would want it if we stayed together, my children know what is going on, age appropriate, and they are backing me 100%. We still reside in the same house, hence my resolve is weakening along with the fact that my wife is reading the book I purchased and attending therapy. It's becoming more difficult to keep to my guns. She claims to be sorry and will perform all necessary actions. All I need to know is that she is sorry she got caught. She has labeled me as a sour, angry person unable to go past all the negativity. Later she apologizes for it, but I know that's how she feels. I still speak with the boss's wife, and my wife completely detests it. She believes the boss's wife is the reason I won't be giving us another chance or that I will be having a vengeance affair. Like she did with her boss, she has insisted on my starting no communication with the wife of the boss. She is nuts, I told her. We did nothing illegal, why should I now accept her points of view? See, I believe I finished. I respect nothing about her. She is still not ready to give up and is actively interacting with me about her ideas and procedures concerning the affair. I find them as justifications, hence I ignore her. She asks me to accompany her for therapy. I was thinking, hell no, as I have seen in numerous instances where the therapist blames the victim. She wants me to read books about infidelity with her. Given that we are likely to divorce regardless, what good is this? She is close-minded. She would not be able to control me with sex, I informed her. She says she just wants to show me how much she loves me and it's not manipulation. Correcting her, I responded, love me now, you mean? People around me, including my mother, are annoyed with me as they believe that mistakes are inevitable and my wife understands from her errors that she really loves me. I assured others I would never be someone's backup plan. Treating her the way I do makes me terribly guilty. Though there is hate involved, I still love her. Am I treating her unduly cruelly? She is trying quite hard, but I have no interest. Should I go back over the divorce? People say I should slow down. I shall regret it. I am moving too quickly. Yes, that is accurate. I'm not sure what is actual from what is not. Edit. I appreciate all of you spending time to answer my predicament. After reading all of your comments, some of you addressed some really pertinent issues. I will talk with my wife right now. Though I will keep you informed, I believe divorce is the best path for my children and myself. Reading from here has been beneficial. Update for the narrative. Alright, I'm back once more. I'm trying a second time since I have been receiving emails requesting an update. Appreciate your concern, folks. I would want to clear certain things since I can see your curiosity. First of all, right now my wife and I find ourselves in a type of decent state. Not because we are reconciling. No, I am still divorcing her. Taken down by the automod, the previous update I uploaded thoroughly described our circumstances. The brief story is that my wife is still hankering after another opportunity and is acting accordingly to acquire it. I won't give it to her as her affair was far too long for me to recover. Should it have been a one-night stand, the narrative might have been different, but 2 years is simply a slap on the face. I love her still and am not a monster, hence I have attended a few therapy sessions with her. One session was really excellent and let me see that my wife really regrets it. She has been trying pretty darn hard, but she has not been flawless in how she managed the aftermath from her affair. Her anger at me for constantly contacting the boss's wife and her fear of a vengeance affair made the second session a catastrophe. We argued a lot later since I refused to do what she requested, which was no communication with the boss's wife, therefore it was the angriest I had ever gone through this whole situation. That was settled after I assured her there wouldn't be a vengeance affair. Though I know I owe her nothing, she is still my wife until our divorce, hence I still want to keep my word. I have been visiting a couple of more meetings with her merely to observe her improvement. This therapist is indeed an individual and marriage therapist. I'm not attending these meetings since, deep down I want to save our marriage. If only I could watch my wife's development personally and help if necessary. I'll gracefully step away following the divorce. Still leaving her husband is the wife of the boss. Her husband is still contesting her on the divorce. She is as strong as I am, and I will say we do have low days with each other. We are only cordial with each other. I still see no affair taking place. She is a strong, self-reliable woman who does not, expletive, anyone. Right now my children are good. They understand that we love them no less simply because we are divorcing. Although they encourage us not to divorce, they see why it's right for our age. My wife works somewhere instead of the advertising company now. She quit not too long after I visited her. She claims to have kept absolutely no contact with her previous supervisor. She applied that advice and sought assistance on saving the marriage on forums. After seeing my wife work her butt out to be a better person, I can see the appeal even though initially I didn't understand why people stayed with adulterers. She's not a monster. She's simply flawed and made terrible decisions from which she is learning improvement. She has extended to me everything under the sun to give another go. Not sure I have it in me either. I feel more at peace the closer a final divorce seems to be. She recently begged to have a chance following divorce, and we had a lengthy conversation about this. She has extended a postnup offer. Although I wasn't totally against it, it would be a somewhat long road for her to travel for me to even consider as an option. She seems really eager, but honestly I don't see how that would help any of us. Mostly driven by a momentary feeling of justice, I want this divorce. Without compromising myself to the level of an adultery, this is the only justice I can obtain. After I told more about my wife's affair, my mother and I made up. Today, she's rather angry with my wife after finding out the specifics. I'm not sure how I would negotiate one. Rant. Affair for revenge? Alright, I wanted not to write here until my divorce was finalized, but right now I'm just annoyed and really want to rant. Like many of you, my wife is terrified about a revenge affair. The straightforward explanation is that I still get in touch with and see the other woman I betrayed. Against the other betrayed partner, my wife feels somewhat insecure. Is that how it is spelled? Younger, a model, quite beautiful, and runs a profitable company as the other deceived partner. It makes my wife suspicious that I would yield to temptation and cheat on her in return. The nerve of her to deliver me the two wrongs don't make a right lecture still astounds me. She isn't wrong of course, and I never intend to follow through. Still, her hypocrisy bothers me. Like yesterday, every time I visit the other betrayed husband, my wife becomes somewhat depressed or very clingy. She has thrown herself at me several times to make sure I do not cheat on her back, but I'm not sure how many. Her advances are turned down, and that further aggravates things. The deceived have to struggle along and try to pick up the pieces while cheaters are thus selfish, just thinking about themselves and their suffering. Besides, our children still see their children. Although I never go to the other betrayed partner without my children, my wife still believes I have it in me to be as merciless as she was and sees every chance to attack the lady. Laughable, expletive. OM is still residing in their vacation house and begs the other betrayed partner to bring him back. I am not going to lie, seeing him suffer the repercussions makes me very happy. Given my degree of leverage on him, he has not tried threatening me. He has to cope with my ongoing communication with his wife. He makes sure I'm not around when he visits since he is allowed to see his kids whenever he wants but does not want to see me. To be honest, I pity the man. My wife has been really contrite lately. She has lavished me with love, which I just push aside. I'm not in a good frame of mind. Today is our therapy session. I feel like releasing all the suffering and hurt I have gone through thanks to her. My anger has become intolerable. Update. Well, here I am checking in. Not especially fresh to report to you folks. Only a few things have evolved though. Reviewing my conversations and postings helped me to see how wonderful this location is for helping people just like us. To help me to see my circumstances better, I have been reading a lot of material about infidelity. Still, during a recent therapy appointment with my wife, she asked that I give her a little more time to win me back. She had reason after reason why it would be a good idea for me to at least try and see if I could assist in restoring our marriage, not quite reconciliation yet. I kept bringing up the fact that her primary motivation was the fallout from her affair. She wouldn't be trying if she still saw OM. For months she emotionally mistreated me. I'm not the kind of person to be walked all over, even by the woman I loved. She owned all of her mistakes and once more apologized. She has promised me so much of making it up to me. She believes it is possible and wants our marriage to be stronger than it has ever been. Having plenty to spare, I asked her whether she would be ready to tolerate my wrath. She was like, absolutely. And she would like me to dump on her anytime I feel like it to help me process the grief. Usually, I got a million excuses when I questioned her why she had an affair. She was honest this time, telling me there was no justification for what she did and that she would spend every day for the rest of her life demonstrating to me by her actions that she was really regretful and would never hurt me that way again. She genuinely dumped emotions onto me, and it helped me to realize that she truly was rather insecure about herself and envious of the other betrayed partner. Her ego shot skyward from the affair. She loved feeling beautiful and wanted. She would never last and admitted the encounter was most certainly a fantasy. She considered the ramifications from time to time but scarcely gave them any thought overall. She regrets having the affair and claims she will live with this guilt the rest of her life. She most likely will never forgive herself. She informed me she could never hold a candle to the other betrayed spouse, and the reason she was so sure I would cheat again was because the other betrayed spouse is not only gorgeous but also a lady with integrity. Not once has the other betrayed partner ever threatened her or behaved meanly toward her. It was all my wife's fears, and maybe the fact I was furious with her for turning on me. It gets fascinating here. The therapist asked me what it would take for me to give my wife's offer some thought. Not one thought came to me. Since what I presently have is a fake of a marriage and I never signed up for it, I was honest and told her, a time machine. She informed me that every marriage deals with issues ranging from death to adultery. How those issues are handled reveals the resilience of a marriage. I told the therapist to concentrate on my wife instead of us as I really couldn't believe where this talk was leading. The therapist advised me that my incapacity to pay attention to logical arguments could be a communication-wise issue. I agreed not to disagree. During the journey home, my wife and I had a long conversation. She asked whether her affair had made me feel emasculated. Given she had never asked me that prior, the question really caught me off guard. Sure, I said. She startled me by wondering if sleeping with another woman would make me feel better. I reminded her once more that I am not, nor will I ever be a vengeful lover. She clarified that she was referring to a trial separation whereby I would go get my mojo returned. She will stay true and wait till I'm good and ready to return to the marriage. Before, I felt she was desperate, but her idea seemed insane. I questioned her how that would help the marriage in any form so that both partners can be having affairs. She informed me it would not be an affair as we would be separated under conditions allowing my freedom to see other people. She answered that we were divorcing anyhow, so if this doesn't help us, at least I could see what the outside world has to offer. I told her that is a great risk on her behalf. She appeared completely out of character to suggest it, hence I clearly rejected the proposal. For the past few weeks, my wife has been remarkably quiet and patient. She is unlike the wild, insecure one I used to know. Naturally, I should not trust her for my personal benefit. It is quite challenging though. She has been really giving in the divorce, even if she doesn't want it. Though not my case, I have read so many stories of divorces turning acrimonious. Being in this state is rather surreal. It is challenging to negotiate. Edit. Let me also make clear, I am still completely going with the divorce. Hearing people's impressions of this interests me. Edit. Back once again. Hello to each of you. I have another update on this sorry condition of my life. I want to thank the people who keep contacting me in support before I get into that. My wife and I have thus decided to be courteous now and celebrate the holidays as a family. Though my wife is still hoping otherwise, this will be the final holiday ever observed. This was for the benefit of our children. I have loving children. Our divorce will be official midway through February. For those of you who are interested, we have shared everything half and half, although she has been quite giving on her side. She might become nasty later, but so far she has been good and tells me it's because I have been a terrific husband and parent. She feels I should get more than a fair divorce considering all she has done. Still don't know whether it's a technique. Though I do gain somewhat more thanks to her, that is not to imply she will lose a lot out of the divorce. I have chosen to cease attending sessions with her. It was confusing her and offering false hope. She has said that she has a strong desire to be close to me all the time and that her affair made me feel emasculated and unwanted. She has been attempting to have sex with me rather often, and I mean quite often. To be honest, my wife seldom started sex before all of this, so I felt a little offended that she was doing it now. I came to value her seeing this as a hang-up of mine and her desire to fix it over time. Though I have turned her down, she continues fiercely claiming that this has nothing to do with reconciliation and that she only wants me to feel good and desired. For now, I have shut off communication with the other betrayed partner since things were becoming somewhat too personal for my taste. I suppose you were not far off when the person mentioned I was having a vengeance affair. It wasn't even anything I knew till the other betrayed partner admitted she wanted to try and see where our relationship would develop. She said she would wait to start anything until my divorce was official. We have agreed to take a vacation from each other till everything is settled, as I was somewhat perplexed and had no explanation for her. The second betrayed partner is a beautiful woman, but I'm not sure whether I could make her feelings back off. I have very little idea how to manage that. Someone suggested that her future reconciliation with her husband is being hampered by being near the other betrayed partner. I guarantee you that nothing I do relates to her choosing to leave OM. She is done with him and that is all. When we are together, we do not discuss our spouses negatively. OM personally visited me lately to atone for all that happened. He was usually an arrogant man, hence this event really helped him to grow humble. His apologies did not sit with me. Though I wouldn't say expletive about what he is going through, call me petty. Is it alright for me to have sex with my wife even if we are not getting along? I do admit I miss having sex. I sorely miss the closeness and intimacy of it all. New lingerie, sexting, touching, letters, etc. My wife is eager and has been trying everything possible to start it, and sometimes I find it difficult to resist. Honestly, I just didn't care to know exactly where they had sex, so she even threw away, destroyed, and replaced everything that had to do with OM at my house without my asking her to. Switching off these emotions is difficult for me. Is this a catch-up? Am I the one being played? I wanted her here as it's less of a hassle until the divorce is finalized. Before someone says kick her out of the house, I've already tried that. Rant. At last I understand it. Though she was nothing but worthless, I felt I squandered all these years on a woman. Nevertheless, she produced wonderful memories and children. As a man, these things I will never forget and value greatly. I am going to do better than her though, and at last I realize I am better than her. People have come flooding in offering me guidance on how to handle this. I realize at last that I am deserving of better than her. She twisted me over, put me down, and made me feel less than when another man paid her any attention. She actually gave another man her all. It still shocks me that I'm at last realizing I am over her. She only now does all it takes to maintain me. She is now focusing her effort on us. She used to not care, however now she wants me to be happy. She now desires to be this daring sex partner for me. Though it was never amazing, I enjoyed our sex. I can now clearly see what I have missed. Her writings with OM let me know only the surface of the graphic nature of their trysts. Now, despite her past relative slowness, she wants to show me just how much she loves me. The lethargic sex tells volumes to me. While earlier it was all about giving her attention and providing for her at the same time, now she gives me space and is pleased and supportive of all I do. She now respects my bounds and surpasses them to add more. She now views me as the king I wanted her to see, but no. First I had to smother her off her pedestal first. She is the perfect woman right now, yet it seems transitory to me. She now tells me everything exactly, very open. She is quite honest as well, even if it may make her embarrassed or offended. Before, I don't believe I have ever seen any woman looking constantly ashamed on her face. She wishes this affair never had a place. She kicks herself quite a bit every day. When I am simply not responsive to anything she does, I can see the desperation on her face. She tries to cover it, but she seems so unhappy. Though occasionally I detest myself, to me it's necessary. Why cannot I consider this as a good thing? Why cannot I criticize her now for her actions? They exhibit regret, right? Many have LTAs and come out even more powerful than before. Why am I making decisions based more on feeling than on a point of mature objectification? While I enter another dubious relationship, someone else will end up receiving the better and upgraded version of her. When everything seems to lead to something decent for the future, why not strive for this? These are the lines I have been handed. My response is that I will not tolerate disrespect. Perhaps I was eager in the early phases of research, but I woke up from that fast. This is to respond to those who have routinely asked about my position and messaged me. This Christmas I will be spending it with my whole family and then moving away from my wife. To retain my wife's grip over me and go totally from the concept of her, I resolved to cease listening to the garbage I produced in my thoughts. Neither will I be giving us another shot nor dating her. We are done for good. My wife is not a villain, and that is the truth. She should be happy too, but it will never be with me. She has personally shown me that. When I absolutely hit rock bottom, I phoned the other betrayed partner today and promised her supper after the holidays for her support. She mentioned she would really like it. Although I know this isn't common, we truly helped each other all through this and I owe her thanks. I really didn't know before people started discussing how much I intended this with OBS. For the past few years, my feelings have been so twisted that the whole idea of another lady never crossed my head. And dinner is it, nothing else unless both of us really want it. But the closer the divorce approaches, the more I see I really have choices. One such alternative has been right there. Regarding OM, I have nothing to say about the man. Not a flying expletive. I will inform any woman as I do not believe I will marry once more. Though my divorce has not been particularly difficult, I am nonetheless losing a lot of money. Today, the whole concept of marriage seems to be a hoax. I apologize for just now being so cynical. Though I'm jaded, I want this essay not to insult anyone. I realized how little I got back after giving this lady my best years. Happy holidays, you won't be seeing me for some time. Update, formally divorced. It has been long since I expected. I did say earlier that I will be returning here for the final update. That ends. Formally, my ex and I have split ways permanently. It happened around 3 weeks ago. For the better part of several days following the event I mourned as though I had lost a loved one. That my marriage failed so spectacularly really affected me rather strongly. Ever since I initially found out about the affair, I never shed tears that strong. I also railed a lot, most likely one of my lowest points. Everything has been set up for my ex, partly on my behalf for the children. She left the house, I am attempting to buy her out of her portion of it. She currently resides in an apartment, a somewhat large downsize for her, and it basically makes her depressed. She still visits the therapist and remains committed to reading and researching infidelity. Not exactly sure why. With little physical touch, we have had long chats both before and following the divorce. She is the mother of my children, hence even if I know I shouldn't be entertaining her right now, we should be decent co-parents. Thanks in great part to this group and others, I am nothing except logical about the matter. Of course, it's the same song. She wants to reconcile, and I believe it would be too dangerous for me to put myself in the same circumstances once more. I regret not feeling the right mood to present her the gift. I went to supper with the other betrayed partner this past weekend solely for companionship and conversation. We covered a lot of ground. Things grew flirtatious between us, and I have to say I was somewhat hesitant to welcome the fast-shifting mood. I suppose I should say that the evening concluded with quite fervent intensity. I'm sorry for the TMI. Most likely, the most amazing sex I have ever experienced. OBS is quite much a giver, spades above my ex. Although I had no intention of it going that far, the other betrayed partner was eager and I too was. Learned quite a few more LOL tricks in the sack. First time I had someone that was eager to satisfy me rather than the other way around. She divorced her ex, thus I guess I shouldn't call her the other betrayed spouse anymore, but for privacy's sake I will just use that. To be honest, I do not see us advancing our relationship. That evening, I suppose the hormones and booze got the best of us. Though I'm not sure she would want to. I believe she also helps me to arrange myself emotionally. Still, I feel really terrific. Although this may not be what people want to hear, The sex I had with the other betrayed partner greatly helped with my remaining self-esteem problems. Desired, living, and at last I knew what I was missing. I will never accept artificial sex once more. Knowing that I did not lose my morals and was not cheating made me more fulfilled. All things considered, I'm really pleased with how I handled all this mess. Though not flawless, I did the best I could. Though I did lose a lot of money in this process, I am most likely coming out really lucky compared to many BHS. But it was because I was ready to listen to those with knowledge rather than mindlessly wishing for the best. I will thus be eternally appreciative of you people. You and everyone who listened to me helped me to avoid even further losing my value. Summary. Respect you. Never, never tolerate disrespect from anyone else, not even from individuals closest to you. Everybody is entitled to a happy, contented relationship. Never accept your partner's leftovers. Every committed partnership should feature a satisfying and healthy sexual life. Do not accept it if your partner is not giving you their all but did so in an affair or before with someone else. Just state your discontent. I am not encouraging rape or sexual abuse. If your spouse is not ready to meet your desires, do not settle for dull sex unless both of you agree. One can walk away from that without trouble. Share, interact, share. I cannot underline how very vital that is. Should you ever be betrayed, only you can really recover. I needed a long time to grasp this. Though that's all I can currently think of, there are many more. I'll be here to respond to your comments, but I'm done blogging here permanently and moving on with my life in around a few hours from now. Have a nice one, everyone. Right now, things are good. Update. Hey folks, people wanting to find out how my issue is going have been flooding me with emails. I still get triggered here and there, hence I have been deliberately avoiding everything involving adultery. Having this in mind, I am still working through the trauma. I try not to dwell too much on it, hence I've been absent from this site and others in order to move on. But given so many people are worried about me, I will reassure you and provide an update. I'm good, no mishaps, no poof, I'm off the face of the earth. I'm still in IC and my girlfriend is the other betrayed partner. With regard to child custody and money, she resolved her matter with OM. She should have handled that sensibly instead of being vindictive and dragging him to the cleaners. The children do have some conflict over all this, and we are working as well as we can to handle it. We have to start therapy for them to ensure they appropriately adjust and realize that their relationship with the other betrayed partner has minimal influence on them. Still, we do take them into account when it comes to the way this is handled. Not everyone is on board, hence this is really difficult. OM, my ex and my daughter do not enjoy being around each other. I'm not joking here. There's conflict when those two are near one another. I really believe both of them blame the other for how things turned out. My ex still wants a second chance and is most likely offended that the other betrayed partner stands in the path of me seeing things clearly and not tossing away what we have eternally. This woman is so misled, her antics really concern me. She tried something at a friend's 4th of July celebration. I closed it, although I suppose it was not sufficiently strong. Though you guys were right, she wants to come crawling back in a bad way. I did not believe the individuals claiming she would be pining for me. The other betrayed partner is letting me handle that. But she's also becoming sick of my ex too. Did I mention my ex's passionate loathing of the other betrayed partner? Ever since I left her for someone else, my ex has been a train wreck. But I truly thought she was improving herself. I treated her better than I treated anyone else in my life, hence she treated me like garbage and I still don't get it. But the instant I respond F you, she is backflipping to grab my interest. I'm not sure whether I ought to be offended over this. There you have it. Now everyone can relax. Regarding my daughter, I get anxious. Hello everyone. I am new to this sub but not new to Reddit. Actually, I have been searching for suitable references to handle my current circumstances. Though I'll outline it below for you all, feel free to review my history to obtain a better backdrop. Ex-wife of mine had an affair. It ran for over 2 years. My ex-wife compared me to our OM a lot and was really nasty to me during this period. Our sex life was worse than it had been before, and at first I blamed all of my failings. I didn't have a straightforward strategy to leave her once I found the affair, but it gradually came to pass. One weekend she departed to hang out with OM and lied to me about it. I contacted the other betrayed partner and we worked together to divorce each of our respective wives. The affair was revealed to our age-appropriate children during this process under a mommy broke a promise to daddy kind of conversation. Not specifics, only that we were heading our different directions but yet loved them very much. Though of course they didn't want the divorce to occur, which is also quite reasonable, they took it as well as anyone would want. Although my ex-wife has been relentlessly advocating for reconciliation, I wasn't there to provide her another chance. Understanding it wasn't about me, I forgave her and wanted to be done with the relationship. The divorce grew more expensive the closer it approached completion, although the financial harm was not too severe. I also have to say that the other betrayed partner and I began a gradual relationship immediately following the divorce. It was first like FWB, but these days it's far more serious. Had it not been for our mutual support during the aftermath of the affair, I most certainly would still be with my cheating ex, that or murdered myself, half joking. Still, I constantly chat to my children to find out how they are handling this. I strive to make sure our talks are honest. If they object to my relationship with the other betrayed partner, they can let me know so. I wouldn't be insulted since I want to avoid putting them in a position that would cause problems down the road. 10-year-old son likes OBS. Given her age, 15, my daughter would rather have a little more time adjusting to the new dynamic. She says she doesn't want to meddle with my connection with the other betrayed partner and she wants to see me happy. I told her I wanted her to be happy too, even if it is not her place. She can say so, and I wouldn't mind, if she prefers the other betrayed partner. She claims she just needs some time and is good with the other betrayed partner. About good partnerships, we have had several conversations with them. My daughter and I have had a lot of conversations regarding her concerns and worries. She seems generally quite helpful to me thus far. The other betrayed partner, and my son, daughter and her 2 daughters are very subtle in our relationship so as not to overwhelm all the other engaged children. Everyone, even OM, is in therapy. But, that is a different matter entirely. This is clearly an unusual circumstance, as you can observe, which brings me back to my kid. The affair and choices taken have clearly affected her relationship with her mother. She tells me straightforwardly that she hates her as none of this would have happened without her. She is quite defiant with her mother. She pushes off her mother's attempts at affection, sulks when it is her turn to take her, and even curses at her once, which results in me stepping in and instructing her to be respectful, which she followed in that incident. The two had argued, and it worries me greatly that my daughter is suffering in such a severe degree. Though there is only so much she can do on her own, my ex-wife is attempting to cope as best as she can. Since I chose to divorce, she wants my help in restoring a relationship with her kid. She was the one who cheated. I could toss her right back off. I am above that, yet it calls into question how I handled this. Concerns I have. My daughter respects nothing about her mother. My daughter doesn't know her mother mistreated her. She wants things to be back as they were. Although my daughter is in treatment, I'm not sure how much it is benefiting her. She seems overburdened since she believes she has no voice or control over the circumstances. She has managed my relationship with the other betrayed partner really effectively, but I worry she is suppressing her feelings. Divorce of their mother seems like I might have damaged their lives. Though I'm not returning to that poisonous person either. I really value any advice. Update: I know you folks are worried about me. Hey everybody, sure, I saw your chat requests and emails. I'm sorry for not getting back. I'm not active here anymore, but I am very much aware that some have been attempting to follow up on my position and this update will help to allay your concerns. Not a happy ever after, be advised. First let's start with the large elephant in the room. How are the other deceived spouses and I doing? Actually, amazing. Years ago, I would have gone after a woman like her if I realized she existed earlier. LOL. All joking aside, other from her I have never had a closer bond with any lady. I had no idea what a good relationship looked like as my ex-wife put me through the grind so often. Though I still have self-doubts, the other betrayed partner is a great friend and has supported me through this. I really love this gal quite a bit. I feel the same way about her and she has repeatedly shown me, time and time again, that I mean a great deal to her. Nothing more than a girlfriend though. I have questions about the entire concept of marriage. We still conduct things behind closed doors and minimize involving the children in the full relationship process. Indeed though, the children are aware of our courting. Regarding the children, their start was really difficult. Who am I kidding? But right now they are getting along really nicely. I believe it largely relates to our close involvement in their life and ensuring they had someone to talk to when they encountered difficulties. Many therapies as well. Love the other betrayed spouse to bits, my daughter and son do. She interacts with children quite naturally. Her kids enjoy me much more than they did about 2 years ago. To really surprise me, her youngest began telling others that I'm her stepdad at events and gatherings I took her to. She said she loved me a lot and I made her mom happy, so she's happy I'm her stepdad. I was scared she felt forced to see me that way. You have no idea how emotional I became upon learning that. It felt like a ton of bricks from nowhere, but I did present a brave front. Though they presented a unified front to mercilessly taunt my son, The only boy and youngest of the bunch, I enjoy seeing my kids contentedly playing with OBS. Indeed, I'm not sure whether I should smile or grimace at that one. How about my unfaithful former partner? We get along rather well. She has been working very hard on her own to mend her relationship with her daughter. I was pleased when my daughter informed me she could find it in her heart to forgive her mother for what she did. Over these years, they have gone through a lot and have grown really nicely together. Still, I doubt my ex-wife has completely embraced our couple's way of life. She still seems to be seeking for or implying a second try. She still goes to individual therapy while working out at the gym. She seems far healthier overall now, but I don't really give a damn. I've reconciled with the past. Her issue stems from not following suit. Now, she talks more with the other betrayed partner. This is reciprocated, but the other betrayed partner routinely sees her with mistrust, as she should, given all that has happened. Is a cause gone lost. I had no idea what a disaster the man would be, all that money and no brains would create. Currently he has a girlfriend, but his children hate her and are rather honest about it. I needed some time to realize how self-absorbing the man was. To be honest, I also dislike his girlfriend. She strikes me as being quite cruel toward the girls, materialistic and selfish. In other words, we're performing better than just good. I had my questions about whether this was the correct route, but given the hard work of the people engaged, it is working out quite brilliantly. Not a happily ever after, just right now. Well, you have it right. Now everyone may relax easily. My stepmom tried to steal my college fund, accused me of awful things, and got me kicked out. Now the truth about her lies is finally unraveling. About my college fund, I, 18M, am in a tough position with my stepmom, Megan, 40F, and I am beginning to doubt everything. Bear with me since this is a long and complex matter. Some background. When I was 10, my parents split. It was an ugly split that left me feeling alone and confused for a long period. When I was 14, my dad, 45M, remarried Megan. She brought 2 children from her first marriage, Jack, 16M, and Emma, 13F, into our household. Though Megan's continuous attempts to push the one big happy family narrative, the change wasn't easy and we have never really felt like a unified family unit. Having kept a 3.8 GPA across high school, I have always been a good student. My ideal is to study engineering in a famous university. For the past 3 years, I have volunteered at the neighborhood animal shelter and competed in multiple robotics club contests. At least until lately, Dad has always been encouraging of my academic aspirations. Dad sat me down for a conversation a few months ago when I was beginning to apply to colleges. He mentioned a sizable education fund he had been building for me from birth. At most elite colleges, it's sufficient to pay living expenses and tuition. Thrilled, I felt as though my diligence was paying off and my aspirations were within reach. That evening, we spoke about several colleges, debated programs, and made plans for campus visits for hours. That was among the nicest talks I had with Dad in years. The trouble began when Megan learned of the college fund. It was first subdued. One morning, Dad had already departed for work when she cornered me in the kitchen. Her voice came out as laid back, but her remarks had a slant. She said, "You know, I worked my way through college, when I was your age. Applied for loans and worked part-time. It truly helped me to appreciate money." I tried to dismiss it, telling her I also intended to work a part-time job to help with extra costs. Megan countered, "But you really don't need to, do you? Not with all that money merely handed to you." Megan's criticisms become more regular and pointed from there. She began bringing up tales of self-made people at meals, always staring pointedly at me. She would discuss her cousin, who paid off her college loans in record speed and is now a successful entrepreneur, or her friend's son, who is working 3 jobs to pay for his engineering degree. Our dinner table started to regularly feature these tales, always followed by remarks about responsibility and the need of hard labor. Dad would nod along, apparently unconcerned about the insinuation that I was somehow less conscientious or diligent for taking his aid. The worst thing is Megan started controlling Dad. She mentioned to him how handing me the money would cause me to become dependent or hinder me from developing. She keeps urging me, like everyone else, to take out loans or work my way through college. I heard them in their bedroom one evening chatting. "I'm just worried about him, honey," Megan said. "Giving him all that money, do you not believe that could lead to laziness? Perhaps we could discuss paying for tuition simply or cutting the budget to cover living expenses." Dad mentioned something about how he had always intended to assist me with college, which terrified me, but he also said Megan might have a point about the need of working for things. Dad's began to wiggle since then. He is suggesting perhaps cutting the fund or paying just for tuition but not for living expenses. He seems to have forgotten all we have discussed about my future, all his pledges of support. I tried approaching Mom about this, but she and Dad hardly speak at all. She became irate when I told her over the phone about the circumstances and advised me to defend myself against that woman from pushing me about. Simple enough for her to say, she doesn't have to live with Megan. Though well-meaning, Mom's guidance doesn't truly assist me negotiate daily conflict at home. Things peaked last week when I heard Megan chatting to Jack in the kitchen. As I was walking to my room, Megan said, "Don't worry about college, honey. I'm trying to get some of your stepbrother's college funds sent toward your future. Given you and Emma won't, it is unfair that he receives such a big payout." What I was hearing defied belief. Megan not only sought to take away my education fund but also actively sought to donate it to her own children. The unfairness of it caused me to see crimson. I walked straight into the kitchen and approached her without thinking. Megan opened her eyes in astonishment. "Were you listening in?" she inquired. Too furious to give her any thought, I ignored her allegation. "You mean you're handling my college fund? Dad has been saving that money for me from my birth." Megan's face grew stiff. "I'm just making sure every child in this family receives fair treatment," she stated. "Jack and Emma won't have the same opportunity, thus it is not right for you to get such a huge amount." What I was hearing defied belief. "But it's not your money to distribute," I said. "Dad kept that for me long before you even started to show up." Furious, Megan responded, "Watch your tone, young guy. Right now you're quite selfish. Have you given your step-siblings' futures some thought?" I thought I was losing it. Egotistical? For wishing to pay for my school with the money my dad saved? How can that make me conceited? Megan opened her arms. A really conscientious adult would see the value of familial fairness. If money worries you, maybe you could look at community college. That would most definitely be a more humble, fitting decision. I froze. Her arrogance in suggesting made me furious. Jack only gazed at the floor, obviously uncomfortable, as I looked at him hoping for some support. "This is insane," I finally managed to reply. "I'm going to bring this up with Dad." Megan grinned and said, "Go ahead. But keep in mind, your father and I are partners. About what is best for this family, we decide jointly." I bolted from the cooking area. I had to explain what was occurring to Dad, but every time I tried to get him alone since then, Megan has been there, hovering and guiding the conversation. The next several days were strained. Megan behaved as if nothing had happened, but her haughtiness set my wrath boiling. Always with a sharp glance in my direction, she would remark over dinner on the value of money, responsibility, and not giving handouts. Dad looked completely blind to the currents of conflict. He would nod in time with Megan's remarks, sometimes adding his own story on the need of diligence. It seemed as though he had forgotten all our earlier talks on my future and all of his assurances of support. I got more and more alone. Clearly uncomfortable with the circumstances, Jack and Emma avoided me yet were reluctant to challenge their mother. Driven to maximize scholarship possibilities in case of need, I pushed myself into my college applications. One evening, I at last caught Dad alone in his study and said I wanted to chat to him about something. Dad turned from his computer, wrinkled brow. "What about, son?" I drew in a long breath. Megan has been voicing some opinions on the money distribution. Regarding myself, perhaps not utilizing it at all. We had a plan, I thought. Dad's look was difficult to decipher. He moaned. "Your stepmoms raised some reasonable comments on responsibility and the value of working for things," he stated gently. "Maybe we offered you the whole amount too quickly." I thought the floor was falling under me. "But as Dad promised," I said. "I've worked so hard, kept my grades, done everything you asked of me." Dad seemed tense. "I know, son, we're proud of you, but Megan thinks, since when Megan gets to decide my future?" I stopped, rage at last breaking through. "She is not my mother though. She was not there during those years you were saving for my schooling." Dad's countenance grew stiff. "Megan is my wife and a member of this family." "She's right." "More than your pledge to me?" I questioned. The study door opened and Megan came in before Dad could respond. "Is everything okay?" she inquired. "Everything's good," Dad remarked. Our conversation was only on college choices. Megan cracked a smile. "Wonderful. I was considering us all sitting down this weekend to investigate some more reasonably priced colleges, maybe with decent work-study options." Dad only nodded as I quietly begged him to say anything, to defend me. I felt misled and demoralized leaving the study. Megan had clearly emerged victorious. My aspirations of enrolling in a prominent university were withering. Some additional points that I believe are relevant. 1. Megan has not worked outside the home since marrying my father. She always talks about the necessity of financial independence, but she is fully dependent on my father's income. When I brought this up once, she became really defensive, claiming that being a stay-at-home mom was the most important profession in the world. 2. When I brought up the unfairness of potentially transferring my education fund to Jack and Emma, Megan says it's about family equality, but she willfully ignores the fact that my father established this fund before she was born. She also ignores the idea that Jack and Emma's biological father is still in the picture and may contribute to their education money. 3. I tried to make a compromise by suggesting that I work part-time while in college to offset some expenditures, but Megan rejected this as not being responsible enough. She seemed to believe that until I am struggling and anxious about money, I am not learning the proper lessons. 4. Dad appears to avoid disagreement and frequently agrees with Megan to keep the peace. I'm concerned that he'll give in to her pressure over the college fund. He has always been this way, including when he was married to my mother. I believe this contributed to the breakdown of their marriage. 5. I've pondered contacting my grandparents, Dad's parents, about this, but I'm concerned that it may lead to further family strife. They've never been Megan's fans, and I'm afraid that if they get involved, it will just make the issue at home worse. 6. Megan is continually pushing the one big happy family narrative, yet her actions do not reflect her words. She treats Jack and Emma differently than she does me, and it's becoming increasingly clear. For example, she never questions their spending habits or lectured them on financial responsibility. 7. I'm beginning to wonder if Megan is so adamant about me utilizing the college fund because she wants to use it for something else, such as a large family vacation, home renovations, or paying for Jack and Emma's education. But I have no proof of this, only a suspicion. 8. Megan has started saying that I should be more appreciative for what she and my father have done for me. She talks about how much they've given to provide me a decent life, but in my opinion, it's my father who has made the sacrifices, not her. 9. I'm beginning to feel like I'm being gaslit. Megan will tell me one thing while we're alone, but then utterly deny it or twist her words when Dad is present. It is making me rethink my own memories. 10. I'm scared that if I push Megan too hard, she'll convince my father to kick me out. I'll be 18 shortly, and I know they won't be legally obligated to support me anymore. I feel as if I'm at a crossroads. If I stand up for myself and insist on using the college fund, I risk jeopardizing my connection with my father and making my home life miserable. If I give in to Megan's demands, I may be giving up on my aspirations and setting myself up for a future of financial difficulties. Am I an asshole for wanting to accept my father's college fund? Should I simply suck it up and figure out how to pay for college myself? I feel like I'm losing my mind here, and I could really benefit from some outside perspective. ETA, I felt I needed to clarify something regarding the college fund situation. When I mentioned the college fund that my father told me about a few months ago, it wasn't because I felt entitled. This fund surprised me, but it was consistent with my father's support of my academic endeavors throughout high school. Although I was unaware of the exact fund until lately, my father had always promised to sponsor my college tuition if I maintained decent grades. This pledge is why I worked so hard on my studies, maintaining a 3.8 GPA. I understand that I am not automatically entitled to this money, but I am really appreciative of the opportunity it symbolizes. If my father had informed me he couldn't afford to help with college, I would have understood and looked for other means to pay for it. My dissatisfaction stems not from a sense of entitlement, but from the abrupt change in plans following the fund's disclosure. Update 1. It has been nearly a month since my previous post, and I wish I had better news to report. Things have gotten worse, and I'm writing this from my friend Mike's guest room. I've been kicked out of my house, and my relationship with my father is in shambles. Here's what occurred. Following my last post, the difficulties in our residence worsened. Megan's comments concerning my college fund become increasingly regular and pointed. She'd bring it up whenever possible, usually with a sarcastic remark about how I needed to understand the importance of hard work and independence. Dad remained frustratingly passive, rarely intervening and frequently agreeing with Megan's statements. I tried to keep my head down and concentrate on my college application. I spent the majority of my time in my room, avoiding family meals and public settings as much as possible. But Megan seems to regard this as a personal issue. She began accusing me of being antisocial and ungrateful, stating that I was intentionally withdrawing myself from family activities. The breaking point occurred last weekend. I had finally received an acceptance letter from my dream school, a prestigious engineering program that I had been striving toward for years. In my excitement, I forgot about the ongoing issues and dashed downstairs to inform Dad. Megan was in the kitchen when I found him, but I was too excited to care. Dad's first emotion was one of gladness. For a moment, it felt like old times as he hugged me and began asking about the program. But Megan cleared her throat, and the atmosphere in the room altered suddenly. She began to complain about financial responsibility. I could not handle it anymore. All of the irritation and fury that had been building up over the previous months spilled out. I addressed Megan about her persistent intervention, attempts to redirect my education finance, and manipulation of my father. I told her she had no right to try to take what my father had been preserving for me since before she was even in the picture. The argument immediately escalated. Megan's face became red with rage as she began yelling about how ungrateful and selfish I was. She accused me of not accepting her as a member of the family and of constantly treating her and her children as outsiders. Dad tried to interfere, but neither of us were listening at the time. In the heat of the moment, I uttered things I regret. I referred to Megan as a gold digger who was just interested in my father's money. I accused her of attempting to take my college savings for her own children. I even mentioned that Mom hadn't worked a day since marrying my father, despite her incessant lecturing about financial independence. Megan's reaction was explosive. She turned to my father and informed him, through sobs, that she couldn't live like this anymore. She claimed she felt frightened in her own house and that I had been unpleasant and abusive against her for years. Then she dropped the bombshell that changed everything. Megan said that I had been making unwanted approaches towards her for several months. She said that when we were alone, I had cornered her, made sexual comments, and even attempted to touch her improperly. She pictured herself as a fearful victim who had been too afraid to speak out until now. I was struck into silence. The claim was so absurd and absolutely false that I couldn't even gather words to defend myself. I looked at my father, expecting him to see through the obvious lie, but the instant I saw his expression, I knew. He was looking at me with an expression of hatred and despair that I had never seen before. I tried to defend myself and explain that Megan was lying, but Dad would not listen. He appeared to have already made up his mind. In an angry voice, he told me to go to my room while he and Megan decided what to do. I spent the next 3 hours pacing around my room, alternating between anger and astonishment. I couldn't comprehend how my father could believe such a blatant falsehood. I tried to think of methods to defend my innocence, but it was my word versus Megan's, and it was obvious whose side my father had taken. Later that evening, Dad visited my room. His expression was grim, and he couldn't even look me in the eyes while speaking. He stated that he could not have someone who behaved so badly living under his roof. He told me I had till the end of the week to find another somewhere to live. I tried again to argue my point, to persuade him to see reason, but he refused to listen. He just kept saying that he was disappointed in me and that he never imagined I could do something like this. Before leaving, he handed me an envelope containing some money to assist me get started. I packed my possessions in a fog, unable to grasp what was going on. Jack and Emma avoided me totally, no doubt having heard some version of Megan's lies. I tried one final time to talk to Dad, to make him see the truth, but Megan was always there, playing the role of the devastated victim. I contacted my mother, explaining the circumstances through tears. She was outraged and wanted to confront Dad and Megan right once, but I begged her not to. I was scared it would simply make matters worse, and a part of me still hoped Dad would see sense on his own. Fortunately, my friend Mike came through for me big time. When I explained what had happened, he instantly offered his guest room. His parents are out of town for a few months on a work assignment, so I can stay here without bothering his family. Now I'm trying to adjust to living at Mike's place. He's been so supportive, but I can't stop feeling like a burden. I'm trying to help where I can, cooking meals, doing chores, but it's not the same as having my own space. I've been oscillating between anger and sorrow. How could my father believe such a terrible lie? How could he abandon our relationship, all those years of memories and trust, based solely on Megan's word? And how could Megan accomplish this? I knew she didn't like me, but accusing me of something so heinous, purposely destroying my connection with my father, is an act of cruelty I can't fathom. I considered visiting my grandparents, but I'm concerned about how they'll react to Megan's claims. What if they believe her too? I couldn't stand to see the same disdain and sadness on their faces. I've also contemplated going to the police to make a report about Megan's bogus claims, but I'm not sure how effective that would be. It's not like she's made these accusations in public or attempted to file charges, and I'm concerned that involving the authorities will further strengthen my father's trust in Megan's falsehoods. My mother offered to let me remain with her, but she lives in another state. Moving there would mean giving up on my dream school and the future I'd been striving toward for years. But I'm beginning to question if I have any other options. Megan's lies have damaged everything, and there appears to be nothing I can do about it. My father, the guy who was meant to know me better than anyone else and to have my back no matter what, has decided to think the worst about me without even giving me the opportunity to explain myself. I've been reviewing every conversation I've had with Megan, trying to figure out where this lie came from. Was it merely an opportunistic move when she saw how angry I was during our dispute, or had she been preparing for this for a long, waiting for the ideal time to get rid of me forever? Regardless, the level of calculation and brutality involved sickens me. I don't know what will happen to my college fund now. Will Megan offer everything to Jack and Emma? Will my father use it to pay for my dream school, despite the fact that he believes I am a predator? I've been attempting to figure out my future moves. Mike assisted me in finding a part-time job at a nearby grocery store. It isn't much, but it will let me contribute to household expenditures and save some money for the future. Every time I try to think logically about my predicament, I am overcome by a flood of rage and hurt. I've pondered contacting Megan's ex-husband Jack, and Emma's father. Perhaps he has some insight into her conduct, or has dealt with her lies. But I'm frightened of opening the can of worms. The truth of my situation is beginning to sink in. With little cash and no permanent place to reside, I rely on a friend's generosity. The unfairness of it all is almost unbearable. I did everything correctly. I studied diligently, remained out of trouble, and worked hard to achieve my goals, but all of that has been taken away from me in the course of a single weekend because of one person's falsehoods. I'm trying to stay strong and not let this break me. I keep telling myself that the truth will come out someday, that my father will understand what Megan has done and come to me to apologize. But with each passing day, that dream seems more and more like a juvenile fantasy. I am not sure what my next update will include. For the time being, I'd like to thank everyone who read my original message and responded with advice. I'm sorry I couldn't take action on most of it before everything broke apart. If anyone has been in a similar scenario or has any ideas on how to proceed from here, I would be really grateful. I feel lost and alone, and any advice would be appreciated. I'll try to post another update as I have more information. Until then, wish me luck. I have a hunch I will need it. Update 2. It's been approximately 2 weeks since my previous update, and a lot has happened. I'm still residing at Mike's apartment, but there was an unforeseen development that I needed to inform you of. I was at work, refilling grocery store shelves, when I received a call from my grandparents. I nearly didn't answer. I'd been avoiding calls from unfamiliar numbers, scared it was Dad or Megan calling, but something urged me to pick up, and I'm glad I did. When I heard my grandmother's voice, I knew something was wrong. She seemed frightened and bewildered, asking if I was all well and secure. I had no idea what was going on until she indicated that Dad had called and told them some troubling news about why I had left home. I became quite concerned that Megan's falsehoods had expanded beyond simply Dad. I asked my grandma what Dad had told them, and her answer confirmed my darkest suspicions. Dad had told them about Megan's phony claims, presenting me as a predator who was making unwanted advances on my stepmother. I felt terrible. It was bad enough that Dad believed these lies, but now my grandparents do too. I couldn't bear the notion of them gazing at me with hatred and despair, like Dad did last night at home. But as my grandmother continued speaking, I recognized something. My grandparents were doubtful of Megan's charges, unlike Dad, who believed them right away. They knew me and had seen me grow up, and something about this scenario didn't sit well with them. That's why they called, not to condemn me, but to hear my side of the tale. For a while, I considered brushing it off, telling them it was all a mistake and changing the subject. I was so exhausted defending myself against these nasty lies. But then I realized that this could be my only chance to tell the truth and have someone in my family trust me. So I took a deep breath and told them everything. I started from the beginning, outlining the college fund and Megan's growing attempts to intervene. I told them about the arguments and Megan's plans to redirect the money to Jack and Emma. I explained the last argument and how Megan made up these horrible charges as she felt she was losing control of the situation. As I spoke, I could hear my grandparents' reaction shift, from astonishment to shock to fury. They offered questions to clarify ideas, but they largely just listened. When I finished, there was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then my grandfather spoke, his voice harsh with controlled rage. He stated they believed me and knew I would never do the things Megan accused me of. He questioned why I hadn't come to them sooner, and I said that I was worried they wouldn't believe me, that they'd side with Dad like he had with Megan. My grandma told me that they would always be at my side, and that they were sorry I had been going through everything alone. Then she said something that made me freeze. They were going to talk to Dad. I panicked a little, afraid that confronting Dad would just make matters worse, but my grandparents insisted. They stated that they could not stand by and let their son ruin his relationship with his child over a falsehood. They promised to call me back once they'd spoken with him. The following few hours were terrible. I couldn't concentrate on work. What if Dad doesn't listen to them? What if this only made him angry, reinforcing his belief in Megan's lies? Or worse, what if my grandparents changed their views after speaking with him, believing Megan was telling the truth after all? My phone finally rang again, and I answered it. My grandfather's voice was solemn as he described what had occurred. They contacted Dad and confronted him with what I had told them. Dad tried to defend Megan at first, but they wouldn't allow him to get away with it. They demanded to know how he could believe such dreadful things about his own son, and how he could toss me away without even attempting to investigate. Apparently, the conversation became heated. My grandfather stated that for the first time in years, he had raised his voice at his son. He warned Dad that he was making a terrible mistake, that Megan was manipulating him, and that he risked losing his relationship with me forever. Then my grandfather dropped a bombshell. He informed Dad that if he didn't fix the situation, if he didn't at least try to listen to me and find out the truth, they would change their mind. All of their assets, including the inheritance Dad had always imagined would be his one day, would be transferred to me instead. I was stunned. I'd never considered my grandparents' inheritance, let alone how it may affect my future. To learn that they were willing to use it as leverage to persuade Dad to see reason was staggering. My grandmother then picked up the phone. She told me that they were completely behind me and would do anything to help me get through this. They offered to let me stay with them and help me figure out my college situation. They even promised to pay a lawyer if necessary to protect me from Megan's additional bogus charges. I was beyond grateful, but yet afraid. This seemed to be getting out of control, becoming more than just a family fight. I asked them how Dad had reacted to their ultimatum. My grandfather stated that Dad was frightened into silence at first, then became angry. He accused them of taking sides without understanding the whole facts and of attempting to blackmail him. Dad ended the call by hanging up on them. We're currently in a waiting game. My grandparents have given Dad a week to contact me and attempt to hear my side of the story. If he doesn't, they say they'll carry out their threat about the inheritance. Part of me hopes that this will be the wake-up call Dad needs, prompting him to examine Megan's story and recall who I truly am. But another part of me is scared that this would only exacerbate our differences, that Dad will interpret this as me turning his folks against him. My living situation with Mike is still fine, but I know I won't be able to stay here forever. His parents will return in a few weeks, and while they may understand the situation, I cannot impose it on them. My grandparents' offer to let me remain with them is intriguing, but they live in a different state. I'm still working at the grocery store to earn money for college, but it's little compared to what I'll need. I've looked at scholarships and loans, but without access to my college fund, the numbers simply don't line up. The idea of giving up on my preferred school, settling for a cheaper option, or deferring college entirely is upsetting. I've also been dealing with the emotional consequences of all this. Some days, I can barely get out of bed, overwhelmed by the injustice of it all. Other days, I'm enraged, ready to confront Dad and Megan and push them to accept the truth. Mike's been fantastic, listening when I need to scream and giving me space when I need to be alone, but I know this scenario is also worrying him out. My mother has been phoning on a daily basis, offering to let me come and stay with her. I appreciate her support, but I can't leave. Furthermore, a small petty part of me does not want to give Dad and Megan the joy of driving me away totally. So now I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see if Dad will reach out and be willing to hear the truth. I'll try to post another update as I have more information. Until then, wish me luck. I have a feeling I will need it. Update 3. It has been 3 months since my last update, and the issue has drastically escalated. I'm still absorbing everything that has happened, but I'll attempt to explain it as simply as possible. Brace yourselves, for this will be a lengthy one. I received a call from my father about a month after my grandparents issued an ultimatum to him. His voice trembled, and he sounded like he had been crying. He asked if we could meet in person because he wanted to tell me something important. I was nervous, but I agreed to meet him at a nearby coffee shop. When I saw him, I hardly recognized him. He appeared to have aged years in just a few months, with dark circles beneath his eyes and a disappointed stoop in his shoulders. As soon as we sat down, he burst into tears and begged for my forgiveness. He said that he had found the truth behind Megan's falsehoods. Apparently, she had been cheating on him with her ex-husband, Jack, and Emma's father for several months. Not only that, but she was pregnant, and the timing indicated that the baby couldn't be my father's. Dad overheard Megan on the phone with her ex, discussing their future plans. He didn't get the complete picture from that single talk, but it was enough to raise his suspicions. He began paying more attention, seeing contradictions in Megan's stories and actions. The final piece of the puzzle fell into place when Dad arrived home early one day and discovered Megan and her ex in a compromising position. When challenged, Megan did not instantly reveal everything. Instead, she attempted to deceive Dad, claiming that he was hallucinating and that her ex was only there to talk about something concerning the children. But Dad wasn't buying it anymore. He wanted the truth, and what he discovered was far worse than he had anticipated. Megan and her ex had reconciled a few months earlier, allegedly over difficulties with Jack and Emma. One thing led to another, and they began an affair. However, as the truth developed, it became evident that Megan's dishonesty extended beyond the affair. She stated that she had been dissatisfied in the marriage for some time, feeling as if she had rushed into it without properly moving on from her previous relationship. Instead of dealing with these concerns honestly, she tried to exploit the situation to her benefit. Megan admitted that she viewed Dad's college fund for me as a danger to her financial stability. She didn't have direct access to it, but she had been gently encouraging Dad to consider utilizing the money for other things, such as home renovations or family holidays. Her strategy was to progressively drain the fund while protecting her own financial position. The bogus accusations against me were part of the plan. Megan attempted to downplay her role in it, claiming that she had felt uncomfortable around me at times, but admitting to exaggerating and distorting incidents to cast me in a negative light. Her purpose was to create space between Dad and me so that I wouldn't interfere with her plans. When Dad confronted Megan with all of this, she did not even have the decency to seem embarrassed. Instead, she tried to create a fresh falsehood, alleging that her ex had misled her and that she was also a victim. She cried and claimed she had made a mistake, but she still loved Dad. But the play broke apart when her ex, enraged at being thrown under the bus, revealed Dad text messages and emails confirming Megan's willing participation in the affair and manipulation. Some of the conversations contained details about their future intentions, such as how they would manage the divorce and share assets. The cruelty of it all was overwhelming. Megan had not only abused Dad's confidence through the affair, but she had also deliberately worked to destroy his relationship with me and ensure her own financial future at our expense. She'd exploited Dad's fears and desire to make his new marriage succeed, all while planning her exit strategy. Dad was a disaster as he told me everything. He kept apologizing, saying he knew he didn't deserve my forgiveness but hoped that one day I would be able to trust him again. He informed me that he was filing for divorce immediately and would do all in his ability to make things right. The divorce process has been a nightmare. Megan, recognizing her scheme had failed, is now attempting to collect as much as she can before the divorce is official. She claims she is entitled to half of everything, including the house and her father's retirement money. Dad filed for divorce as soon as he learned about Megan's infidelity, but the legal process takes time. We've gone through numerous preliminary hearings and failed mediation attempts. Our lawyer estimates that it will be another 6 months to a year before everything is finished. Fortunately, the evidence of her infidelity and deceptive behavior is working in Dad's favor. In our state, while infidelity does not immediately prevent a spouse from getting alimony, it is considered when spousal support is determined. The judge has been unimpressed by Megan's assertions, especially considering the existence of those damaging text messages and emails. Megan's pregnancy has complicated things. She's attempting to use it as leverage, implying that the baby could be Dad's after all, and that he should not abandon his child. However, considering the timing of her affair and Dad's proof, it's extremely unlikely that the baby is his. Dad's lawyer has urged him to obtain a paternity test once the baby is delivered, but Megan can't use the pregnancy to her advantage right now. Megan could not directly access my college fund, but she had been asking Dad to take money for other family expenses. Dad, eager to keep the peace and believing Megan's falsehoods about me not worthy of the money, had agreed several times before. He pledged to replace every dime, even if it meant working 2 jobs. The most annoying element is Megan's continued attempt to manipulate everyone around her. She informs Jack and Emma that Dad is attempting to steal her baby, that he is abusive and that they must testify against him in the divorce process. She's contacted family members, telling them about how she was misunderstood as a wife who made a mistake but deserves another opportunity. She even had the guts to contact me and cry, claiming that she never intended for things to escalate and that she was simply terrified and bewildered. She tried to persuade me that if I told Dad I forgave her, maybe we could all be a family again. The manipulation was so clear that it was almost funny, but it still left me sick to my stomach. Jack and Emma are stuck in the middle of a nightmare. They'd been spending more time with their dad recently, unaware that their parents were rekindling their love behind my father's back. When everything was revealed, they were devastated. They've contacted me and Dad, apologizing for not standing up for me and saying that Megan had also supplied them false information about me. Megan had informed them that I was jealous of them and attempting to undermine their relationship with Dad. She had convinced them that I was unstable and potentially aggressive, which is why they avoided me in the last 3 weeks before I went. Learning the truth has been devastating for them, and they are still trying to accept who their mother truly is. Dad has attempted to make apologies in every way he can think of. He has contacted my grandparents, thanking them for their support and apologizing for not listening sooner. He has volunteered to pay for therapy for me, understanding the emotional stress produced by this entire situation. He's even trying to make amends with my mother, admitting that his terrible decisions have placed an unfair burden on her. I'm still trying to digest everything. Part of me is relieved that the truth is out, that I've been vindicated, and that my father now believes me. But another part of me feels angry, mad that it took this level of betrayal for him to realize the truth, angry that I had to go through months of suffering and uncertainty because he couldn't trust his own kid over a lady he'd only known for a few years. For the time being, I've returned home and settled back into my old room. It is weird to come back here, knowing everything that has transpired. Dad and I are walking on eggshells around each other, unsure how to repair our connection. We're going to begin family therapy shortly, hoping to work through some of the hurt and mistrust that has built up. My college plans are back on track. Dad has pledged to do whatever it takes to get me into my ideal school, and I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. My grandparents have been extremely supportive, offering both emotional and financial assistance whenever needed. The legal battles are not done. Megan is battling tooth and claw for every dime she can obtain, prolonging the divorce procedures with unrelenting demands and allegations. Her counsel has attempted to portray her as a caring wife and stepmother who made a single mistake, but proof of her deceptive behavior is jeopardizing her case. Dad's lawyer has been advocating for a fair yet strong settlement. Megan's infidelity and intentional deception make it unlikely that she would receive the wealth she was hoping for. The judge seemed ready to award her merely the bare minimum necessary by law, which is a minor triumph in this disaster. There's also the issue of possible criminal charges. Megan's activities, according to the lawyer, may be considered fraud due to the extent of financial manipulation. It's a complicated legal matter, and Dad is still debating whether he wants to pursue it or just finish the divorce and go on with our lives. Megan's ex isn't getting off easily either. His involvement in the affair and subsequent manipulation has been revealed, and he is now facing legal consequences. His present wife, yes, he was married the entire time, has filed for divorce, and his firm is considering dismissing him as a result of the incident. It's a minor consolation, but it feels like some kind of justice. As I sit here writing this update, I am struck by how swiftly and completely one person's falsehoods can devastate numerous lives. Megan walked away from the disaster she caused without looking back, leaving the rest of us to pick up the pieces. It will be a long road to recovery for all of us. I have no idea what the future holds, but for the first time in months I feel like I can breathe again. The truth is out, my name has been cleared and I have my father back. Even though our relationship is tenuous right now, it is more than I could have hoped for during those dark days when I felt I had lost everything. Thank you to everyone who has followed my tale and offered their support. Your warm thoughts and wisdom have been a lifeline through this ordeal. I'll publish another update if something big happens, but for now, I'm concentrating on recovering and moving forward. Wish us luck. After everything that's transpired, I believe we'll need it. My wife cheated with my stepbrother, got pregnant, and I told her parents. Now she's cut off from her inheritance. I, 34M, and my wife, 29F, have been married for 2 years. Our relationship has been rather ordinary. We met at a work event many years ago, became friends for a few years, then realized we had feelings for one another and began dating. We dated for 3 years before I asked her to marry me, so we've been together for about 6 years. We never had any issues, either while courting or after we married. She is gorgeous, intelligent, and a wonderful partner for me. I have done my best to be a good husband to her, and we are happy together. Around 6 months ago, my stepbrother Darren, 28M, was sacked from his work. Instead of looking for another career, he opted to spend some time traveling and finding himself. Darren has always been unpredictable and spontaneous. My parents had a difficult time convincing him to go to college and earn a degree. He is constantly full of wacky ideas that he needs to be talked out of, but being dismissed from his job because he was intoxicated during a business meeting is serious. Despite his history, he resolved to quit drinking. Despite my fears that he would abandon this project halfway through, I attempted to be supportive for my father's sake. My parents divorced while I was a child, and my father married Darren's mother when I was a teenager. So when Darren asked if he could stay at my house for a few weeks to tour New York, I wasn't sure how to say no. I was suspicious and unwilling to do it, but when my father and stepmother urged me to let him stay, I couldn't say no. I questioned my wife and she said she was fine with it, so I grudgingly gave in. Darren came to live with us 2 months ago. I made it clear that he could not bring anyone into the flat, and that even if he could leave and return any time he pleased, it should not disrupt our sleep. Surprisingly, he agreed with all of my rules. For the first few days, he stayed out virtually all night, and I even saw him arrive as late as 7 a.m., when I was already up and preparing for work. Aside from that, he was fairly polite, having supper with me and my wife at our home and even cooking for us on a few occasions. I was pleasantly surprised. This was not the Darren I'd known my entire life. My wife and I had scheduled a weekend trip to Vegas the second weekend Darren was staying with us because I had worked there. We told Darren to take care of the place until we returned. Everything was planned, but my wife developed a severe stomach flu at the last minute. It was Thursday night and we were meant to leave the next morning. We were both really unhappy, but we assumed she would go if she felt better. Unfortunately, her illness worsened the next morning, and by the time we were scheduled to depart, she was too ill to travel. I tried to reschedule my job commitment and postpone our trip, but it was too late, and I needed to travel. I felt terrible about leaving her in that state, but I knew Darren would be there in case her health worsened. He offered to stay at home and cook her meals as well. I vowed to return as early as possible on Saturday morning and then left. Looking back, I can't believe I didn't see that coming. So I went to Vegas by myself, returned the next day, and found that my wife was doing better. I didn't think much of it at the time, but after that weekend, I noticed Darren was home more frequently than usual. Previously he went out every day, but now he hasn't left the flat in several days. I asked whether everything was fine, and he just shrugged, claiming he was trying to save his money. I didn't think much of it at first, but as time passed, I began to notice more things that stood out. When I returned from work one day, I discovered that my wife had already arrived home. Apparently, she had taken a half day off due to a headache and forgot to notify me. Another day, I arrived home early and noticed Darren and my wife entering the house together. They stated that they had just met outside the building. This could just be a coincidence, but I had a horrible feeling about it. I had never questioned my wife's devotion before, and while Darren was a messy person, I didn't think he could do something so heinous as that. Still, I couldn't ignore the impression that something was off. I knew I couldn't accuse them of anything without evidence, and doing so would cause upheaval in my family, which I wasn't prepared to cope with. So I took a straightforward approach. I asked Darren how long he planned on staying with us. I reminded him that while it was fantastic to have him around, he should think about his future moves. Thankfully, he caught the message and stated he'd be leaving within a week. My wife was in the room during the chat, but she said nothing, which made me uneasy. Darren moved out, and I attempted to ignore my misgivings, concentrating on my marriage rather than worrying about the worst-case situation. Things improved after he departed, and I began to believe I had been overly paranoid. I was mortified to think that my wife would do something like that, especially because she had been the perfect spouse all these years. However, around 2 weeks ago, something happened. We discovered that my wife was pregnant, 2 months to be exact. You probably know where this is headed. When Darren moved in with us 2 months ago, I felt sick to my stomach. I'll offer you some context. I am a few years older than my wife, as I previously stated. By the time I was 30, I was ready to settle down and establish my own family. When my wife and I first started dating, I knew she was the one for me and wanted to marry her. However, she believed she was too young to have children and wanted to wait a few years before making that decision. Though it wasn't what I desired, I approved of her choice. We always took precautions since we decided to wait until she was 30 to start looking for children. My wife always insisted we be very careful since her body reacts poorly to hormonal birth control and she is not on any tablets. I also always utilized protection. Accidents do happen, of course, but I could not get over the sense that something was off. I felt the timing to be unsettling. She said she wanted to keep the baby, that although this was unplanned, it was a good thing and we ought to be glad. Long since I had desired children, under different conditions I would have been ecstatic, but instead I was in excruciating pain. Though I attempted to seem content to my wife, I don't think I have ever felt worse. Uncertain of what to do, I wanted no one to criticize me, thus I couldn't talk to any of my friends about it. Nevertheless, I couldn't get rid of the bad ideas and emotions. I knew I couldn't continue living in total anguish after about 1 week. I had to face my bride. I knew this would have a terrible effect on our marriage and should I turn out to be mistaken, she might never pardon me. But I kept thinking of the worst. The prospect of her carrying the baby of my stepbrother made me sick. After our first visit, completed several blood tests and procedures, all I could feel was total devastation. I decided to talk to her as I could no longer handle it and got ready for the worst. I told her I had to talk to her about something quite crucial about a week ago during supper. She wanted to know straight away. Though afraid, I aimed to be as direct as I could. I apologized for feeling this way, but I questioned her whether she actually carried my child. My question seemed to her startled. Her whole face flushed red, and she began shouting, accusing me of being a monster for questioning her and committing something so terrible. She said she had never strayed from me. She wondered where all this was coming from, and I told her it was too much of a coincidence she was 2 months pregnant, the same length of time Darren had left. She became much more irate as a result and began yelling even more. Seeing the situation becoming bad, I tried to cool her down and get her to pay attention to me. I told her it hurt for me to live with these uncertainties. I told her about the events that occurred during Darren's stay, wishing I had no harbors of uncertainty and felt something was off. She seemed to relax a little and assured me she knew I had questions, but she also advised me to believe her and our marriage would be stronger. Though I felt awful, I told her I wished I could just ignore these ideas. Having attempted, I wanted a paternity test following the birth if there was really nothing to worry about. I even said I knew how tough this must be for her, but I had to be sure for my own peace of mind. She seemed to be really more extreme than I had expected, so clearly I didn't expect her to be entirely cool with this and felt she might flare out a little. If she was angry before, the reference to a paternity test sent her off. She said I was nasty and she couldn't believe I would force her to go through something so embarrassing over my crazy thoughts. Though I attempted to remain cool, really seeing her so against the concept made me feel as though my suspicions were vindicated and I started to get enraged. I told her this was an ultimatum, that if she disagreed, I doubted we could be together. She admitted she needed time to consider it, and this seemed to help her somewhat relax. That evening we slept in different rooms. We said nothing to one another the next morning before reporting to work. I fantasized the worst-case scenario as the truth all day. The remainder of the week reflected that. She would ignore me and arrive home late at night. She grew upset every time I tried to chat to her, so I finally gave up. I had no notion she was merely deciding on her next action. When I got up in the morning last Thursday, I discovered she had not returned home the evening before. She never responded when I texted her many times. I had to report to work, but I was so agitated that I couldn't concentrate and so left early for home. I waited hours for her, but I grew rather concerned when she still hadn't returned home by 9 p.m. and would not answer my calls. Not sure what else to do, I asked her assistant at work about her. My surprise was that she hadn't been to work and had taken 2 personal days. Her assistant expressed amazement at my ignorance of this. I was somewhat concerned at that point and phoned some of her friends to see whether she was with any of them. I started picturing the worst when all of them claimed they hadn't heard from her. I fretted about her leaving me or about something happening to her. I asked my mother-in-law, MIL, a last resort, whether she was with her. She wasn't, but upon learning my wife had vanished for 2 days, my MIL started to get really concerned. She promised to try to get to her and let me know whether there was any update. Should she still be inaccessible, we agreed to phone 911. I was completely terrified in the next half hour, but suddenly my wife called. She stated she was absolutely fine, wanted some time to sort things out, and that I had no need to stress her out for no cause or involve her mother. She sounded even angry, very apathetic. I became enraged when she showed no regard for freaking me out, but I calmed down and asked her where she was and when she was returning. She hung up, then declared she would be returning early the next morning. Frayed and somewhat angry, I went to bed. I considered spending some time apart from her. I had no idea what lay ahead of me. The next morning she woke me up and seemed especially content. She stated she was fixing a problem, when I asked her where she had been the day before. Trust me when I say I spent weeks considering every conceivable scenario that might go wrong. What she said next was crazier than anything I could have imagined. She explained that this pregnancy was killing our marriage and causing foolish questions in my head, hence she decided to rescue our marriage by means of an abortion. She met my eyes squarely and stated, now I had no reason to question her loyalty, we could start our marriage anew. I looked astounded. I had never used that word and really meant it before in my life. I simply asked her if she was kidding after just staring at her. She stated she was totally serious and hoped I could unwind now and stop allowing stupid worries to disturb me anymore. That served as my breaking point. After several more minutes of staring at her, I stood up and departed. Spending another second with her worried me that I would have some kind of mental collapse. She started to follow me, but if she wanted peace, I advised her to avoid me. I guess my tone was severe enough to stop her. I phoned my attorney on the way out of the building to let her know I was divorcing my wife and needed to start the process immediately. I also scheduled a meeting for the following morning and advised her we had to make sure my wife missed a penny of my money. Though I had no idea exactly how things would turn out, I knew what I had to do. I asked Darren where he was when I phoned. He claimed to be in Atlanta, someplace. I asked him not to waste my time. Simply admit that they had slept together. I was divorcing my wife. He said nothing for a few minutes, then simply apologized to me. That helped me too. I understood there was nothing else to say. For the evening I checked into a hotel and got ready for what I knew was in store. I woke up the next morning, headed straight to my attorney, and gave her all the specifics, the infidelity, the abortion, everything. She claimed that we did have a shot, even though it's tough to have a clean divorce with no alimony unless both sides come to a mutual understanding, as my wife has a high-paying job of her own and is most certainly the one at fault here. Really, I was more concerned with the cause than with the money. With this woman I was finished. She could be very frigid, which astounded me. It seemed like I had lived all these years among strangers. The person I loved and married would not be able to do anything this crazy. She had slept with my stepbrother, but there was still a possibility she was pregnant with my baby. Now we would never know. Changing my plans to suit her wants, and doing everything I could to be a decent husband, after almost 6 years in this marriage, this is what I received. Inquiring whether she was at work, I phoned her assistant. She became. I urged her not to tell my wife I phoned and lied about arranging a surprise for her. I then headed home, loaded as many of her items as I could into 3 suitcases, and arranged them in the hall. Changing our locks and phoning a locksmith came next. I wanted no sight of her. I wanted her out of my house, gone. Not wanting to be home when she got back, I then stuffed some of my own items in an overnight bag and headed back to my hotel. It was almost 5 p.m. by the time everything was finished, and I was worn out, physical and psychological. I slept on the bed and nodded out as soon as I got to my motel. My phone rang when I woke up. In fact, it was my wife, but I chose to treat her with the same indifference that she had shown me the day she obtained the abortion behind my back. She persisted in phoning, and I ignored a million books that she recommended. Regarding all that, I had nothing to say to her. She stopped at last after over an hour of unrelenting calls. She had apparently given up, but then I received a text from Darren stating she had contacted him and inquired as to whether I had spoken with him. It was finished, he informed her. I knew everything. Again over text, he apologized. I couldn't care less. Not texting him either, I started considering what to do next. The following phase was where I might have gone a little too far, but I was devastated and embarrassed. What else to do eluded me. One thing you should know about my wife is that she is from a quite traditional Southern background. They do things a particular way over there, and since we were married, she has been under pressure to have children. I had been on her side at every family gathering for years, helping to back our slow approach. I never once said that her desire to wait was the sole reason we weren't trying for children. I knew that her family would not be very happy if they discovered she had an abortion and cheated. I thus decided to phone my mother-in-law and simply be petty once in a lifetime. I gently went over everything with her and advised her that I was divorcing her daughter for betraying my confidence. She first doubted me and sounded embarrassed. About the abortion, I could show her the positive pregnancy test and the doctor's notes from our first appointment. Darren had previously acknowledged the affair. She may have her daughter clarify the rest. My wife was blowing up my phone in no time, exactly as I had anticipated. I tried to wait it out, but I ultimately picked up when she wouldn't stop after an hour and a half of unrelenting calling. Her answer was as predicted. She screamed I was ruining her life for no reason and she had nowhere to stay for the evening. She was beyond enraged. I informed her she was welcome to check into any hotel of her choice, but not to irritate me. I disregarded her attempts to prod me. She would be hearing from my lawyer shortly, and any correspondence from now on would go via our lawyers, I advised her. I also assured her that I would pack and deliver everything she desired wherever. She then told me she could forget about ever inheriting a cent from her parents, since her parents were quite enraged with her and declared she was no longer welcome in their family. From my in-laws, this was surprising. Although I expected them to be enraged, I did not believe they would act in this extreme manner. I obviously told my wife none of this. Rather, I advised her she should have considered this before turning around behind my back and that none of my concern was what her parents chose to do. Saying I shouldn't have dragged her parents into our marital troubles since now her life was shattered and she had nobody left, she labeled me immature and petty. I hung up on her and replied I couldn't care less. She then started texting me endlessly, calling every name under the sun, threatening to steal every dollar I had and cause me to repent everything. My father-in-law called me as well. He apologized to me for what his daughter had done. He was embarrassed of her. Hoping this would teach her a lesson, he informed me they were done letting her get away with anything. I was more than glad to provide him with the doctor's reports he requested. That was a couple hours ago, and my wife keeps contacting me. I'm thinking about just blocking her. But somewhere in the back of my mind there is a niggling voice reminding me I might have gone too far and ought to have kept this between the two of us. Although I absolutely have second thoughts about the divorce and I don't regret shutting her out of my apartment. I realize what a major blow it is to her to be cut off from her parents. Am I the asshole for telling my in-laws about my wife's adultery and abortion? Update 1. I want to thank everyone who helped me. Those of you who shared your own tales made me feel far less alone than I was feeling and also helped me relax about my response. Working through the divorce has not been simple. She is determined about receiving alimony and won't help me. We all know how complicated divorces can go, thus we have been trying to come to an understanding between us and avoid going to court. Unfortunately, it looks like she is handling this as an assault against her ego and does not give practicalities any thought. I am quite happy I had the wisdom to evict her from the apartment before she could get the pregnancy test and ultrasonic records, which I currently have with me. I have also discussed the overall matter with Darren. Though I am furious with him, he claims he will help and even testify if he has to. He has also blocked my wife on all conceivable platforms and avoided all interaction with her. He has apologized for what he did, not that his apology counts to me, but at least he isn't repeating her error as she did. Curiosity drove me to ask him specifics about the affair. He claimed it began the weekend I visited Paris and persisted for as long as he remained here. Reportedly, they also met a few times after he moved out. Regarding her pregnancy or abortion, he claimed he knew nothing. Though I am furious with him, I do need him to respond appropriately should things get that far off. Knowing that he depends on my dad financially, his funds have gone out, I also realize the only reason he is suddenly so thoughtful of my needs is clearly, my dad will be cut off completely should he exacerbate the problem in any form. According to my dad, Darren's lack of immediate cutoff is just a result of our maybe need for him should the divorce get messy. It hasn't been easy. I'm trying as hard as I can not let me snap at him. Apart from that I have moved into my apartment, otherwise, there is not any more positive news as yet. I cannot pretend to be sympathetic. I know exactly where she is. I am not likely to lose this flat as I have owned it for considerably longer than my marriage has lasted. For now just that is all. I am preparing for the divorce to get more ugly. I have no other option. Once things calm down enough, I'll attempt to let you know people. Update 2. I am formally divorcing you people. My last update was 6 months ago, hence I have been really busy. Things have advanced with the divorce since then. Originally challenging, my wife changed her behavior following multiple pre-trial hearings, depositions and settlement negotiations. It became evident that if we let this go to trial, it would only end badly for her. Darren answered under oath. Already, we had proof of her pregnancy. For her statement, we called in our OB/GYN, she supported us on everything. Especially exposing were the depositions. My wife had to respond to some difficult questions under oath, and her behavior, along with tail contradictions, only worked against her. Darren's deposition validated our suspicions. Although his apologies meant nothing to me, it was an important piece of proof. On his phone they also foolishly snapped some images in private situations during the encounter. She could not later on ignore the reality. We traveled to settlement conferences following the depositions. These were uncomfortable, but given her high-paying work and the strong proof of her infidelity, my wife's lawyers seemed to understand that pursuing alimony wouldn't be successful. Her request for alimony clearly wouldn't stand up in court. While we were ready to resolve things amicably, I wasn't going to be taken advantage of. My wife gave up at last. She committed herself to not claiming any alimony. Given her efforts during our marriage, the settlement also guaranteed that she would not get any more than what we decided upon. This was fair. I'm happy the last decision was taken without calling for a pointless trial that would have simply sapped my funds and time. She will have her own stuff. We have fairly split our shared assets. The settlement guarantees our ability to go on free from more entanglement. Though I am glad everything is over now, I cannot help but feel as though all of this has been a great waste of my time. Not only the divorce, but the entire marriage. I find it hard to believe I squandered time and effort and strayed from my intentions to start a family for someone who would not hesitate to toss it all aside for basically nothing. I appreciate your support and counsel all around. It has been really helpful at this difficult period. If someone else is experiencing something like this, keep strong and rely on your support system. Things will improve. Update 3. Although I'm not sure whether anyone is still interested, I wrote in this subreddit at the start of the year and it has been a few months since my last update. I heard from my dad a few hours ago. Not expecting much, I picked up and was genuinely perplexed about how to respond when he told me. Darren and my ex-wife apparently are seeing one other once more. I hadn't heard from any of them and didn't realize Darren came to the city after finding employment here. I suppose it was sufficient to reignite their love, and she apparently forgot all the slights she had aimed at him during the divorce. I get turned off. I feel duped and that someone made a fool of me. According to my dad, he has made it abundantly evident to Darren and my stepmother that he wants nothing to do with him going forward. At least, having my old dad by my side feels great. Still, that is that. I don't think I will have any more updates for you folks, as I hope I won't hear anything about this anymore. I'm 30F, wed to Brian, 32M, a really great man. At least until lately, our 7 years together have been peaceful. We have been married for 5 and life has been lovely. My family has always been somewhat complicated. When I was 10 years old, my parents split. My mother fled, and since then we have not spoken at all. When I was 15, my dad, 55M, drew Diane, 50F. She entered the family with her 28F daughter Melissa. Mostly since Melissa was constantly envious of me, we were never close. She simply made matters worse as she disliked my wonderful relationship with my dad, who has always preferred me. Melissa has always shown a little entitlement and spoiling. Diane cuddles her. She has always sided with Melissa no matter how often there has been dispute or argument. Although my dad attempts to remain impartial, it is clear he is closer to me and has caused many issues over the years. Melissa appears to be carrying this chip on her shoulder on the way our dad treats us differently. To complicate matters, Diane and my dad's son Peter, 14M, is my half-brother. Though the family relationships are equally complex, he is a wonderful child. Though Melissa is an adult now and should be able to manage things better, her dad loves him too, and Melissa always feels that she has been pushed to the side. Still, I am a successful business owner, which has simply accentuated the distance separating Melissa from me. She has always been jealous of my connection with our dad and my job. She is a low-level marketing assistant who regularly laments how unfair life is, how she does not have the same chances, etc. I have tried to be encouraging, but it is difficult when she is constantly negative and seeks means of dragging me down. She recently began dating James, 35M, a decent-looking man, but now I'm doubting everything. Even from our early years, Melissa and I never truly got along. Though I suppose it's not unusual for step-siblings to experience some conflict, ours felt to be on a different level. Melissa obviously objected to me from the beginning because of the relationship I had with our dad. She always considered me as competition, hence it was aggravating as I actually wanted a sisterly relationship with her. But it became abundantly evident over time that this was not going to happen. The favoritism of my dad proved unhelpful. He has never hesitated to share with anyone who would listen. He has always been pleased with my successes. Melissa, on the other hand, seemed to be more of a letdown in his eyes, which widened our gulf. Every time something went wrong in her life, she would find a way to point the finger at me or say I had it simpler since our dad loved me more. To be very honest, it was draining. And Diane? No matter what, Melissa's constant cheerleader has been her. Diane would defend Melissa even if she obviously made mistakes. Diane and my dad have had a lot of conflict as well, but he has never been one to squarely face it. To my annoyance, he simply aims to maintain peace, which sometimes means allowing things to lapse. Melissa's jealousy evolved over years into something more poisonous. She usually attempts to minimize my achievements as she has never been happy about any of them. She hardly noticed it when I married Brian and focused entirely on how unfair it was and how alone she was. She laughed at my company when I first started it, stating I only got where I am due to our dad's support. She seems unable to accept my success or happiness, which makes any type of meaningful connection unattainable for us. Notwithstanding all this, I have attempted to keep the peace. I try to include her in activities, hoping it would strengthen our relationship. I do not go out of my way to rub her triumphs in her face. Still, it's never enough. She finds a means to turn whatever I do into something negative no matter what. Since I desire things could be different, it's draining and truly upsetting. My battle with infertility has been among the most agonizing events in my life. Brian and I resolved 3 years ago that we were ready to begin a family. Though our enthusiasm and optimism were high, things didn't go as expected. We visited a reproductive doctor following a year of trying without success, and there we received the news that I have a disorder severely impairing spontaneous conception. Nothing worked, medications, therapies, even IVF that we tried. Every failed effort felt like a kick to the belly and severely affected both of us emotionally. Particularly since we had always imagined a large family, we were heartbroken. Our relationship has suffered much from it. There were times when I felt totally hopeless and the tension and disappointment were intolerable. Melissa's family is among those who know about our hardships. They were all really encouraging. Though he has never been very good with emotional matters, my dad attempted to be there for me in his own manner. Diane offered to assist with all we needed and was more involved. Melissa first appeared to be empathetic, but that was fleeting. She began making tiny digs and remarks with great depth not long ago. She once asked me casually how fortunate I was to be able to concentrate on my profession free from child responsibility. Especially from someone who understood how much I wanted to be a mother. It burned so badly. She seemed to be enjoying my suffering, which more than I could express hurts. Dealing with infertility is difficult enough without someone in your own family rubbing slaves in the wound. Almost as if she were mocking me, Melissa would also mention her own aspirations for children one day. She would discuss how simple she would find it when the time came. How she would have no trouble getting pregnant, and how she was in no hurry as she had all the time in the world. Knowing what I was going through, I couldn't understand why she would say such things. Which were terrible. To be honest, Melissa has always been rather the drama queen. She is single, a low-level marketing assistant, and she regularly grumbles about how her life has not turned out the way she intended. She has always been the kind of person that seeks attention, even if it means blatantly falsifying stories or exaggerating to get it. I can't count the times she has pretended to be unwell. Only the next day when something exciting comes up she suddenly recovers. She recently began seeing James, 35M, and initially I thought it would be great for her. Exactly what Melissa needs. Kind, successful, grounded, he seemed to be a decent man. But as their relationship developed, I began to see some warning signals. Melissa has been pushing James to relocate more quickly than he is comfortable with. First of all, given her past of wanting things for the wrong reasons, her discussion of marriage and children after just a few months of dating seems a tad hurried. Melissa has always had a great need to stay up with me, more like to surpass me. She seems to be unhappy only until she feels as though she is one-upping me in some form. Whether it's with our professions, our relationships, or now considering a family, I have seen it time and time again. It's draining. At one point I'm not sure what more I could do to maintain calm. She has also been known to embellish events seeking compassion. She would make up stories about how harsh her professors were or pretend to have injuries to get out of gym class when she was younger. It's always something, and today it looks like that behavior has persisted into her adult life. She talks endlessly about how demanding her work is, how she feels underappreciated, and how everyone is out to get her. Particularly when you know someone is not being really honest, it can be difficult to sympathize with someone who is constantly acting the victim. James strikes me as a fine man, but I worry about him becoming sucked into Melissa's web. Unlike us, he doesn't know her, hence I worry he could not see the warning signals until it's too late. Still, I'm not very inclined to meddle at the same time. I simply hope things don't spiral out of hand for Melissa's sake as much as for his. Imagine yourself last weekend. Fast forward. Celebrating our 5th wedding anniversary, Brian and I also had an opportunity to let others know my company is growing. We agreed to have a large dinner party inviting close relatives, friends, and some business contacts. Particularly considering all Brian and I have gone through lately, I wanted tonight to be memorable. I spent weeks organizing every element, selecting the ideal cuisine, contracting a professional catering company, and even installing some subdued CCTV cameras for security needs. We just had a couple break-ins in the area, hence I wanted not to take any chances. Everything was supposed to be flawless, and I was eager to tell everyone we know our great news. My parents, Diane, Melissa, Peter, and a handful of our closest friends and business colleagues were on the guest list. Given our past, I was a little dubious about inviting Melissa, but I decided it was the proper thing to do. Moreover, I considered perhaps this would be a chance for us to at last get along, even for one evening. The day the party was scheduled arrived, and I wanted things to go without a hitch so everyone might enjoy themselves. Together, Brian and I checked to ensure every element was flawless. The caterers came early, and we laid a lovely table including candles and flowers. I even bought some pricey wine knowing our visitors would enjoy it. Everyone arriving felt as though all the effort had paid off. Starting with champagne and appetizers, we kicked things off and generally everyone seemed to be having fun. Melissa was also being quite friendly, which I interpreted as encouraging. Thinking perhaps, just maybe, things were looking good, I began to unwind and really appreciate the evening. Until dessert, everything was running perfectly. The caterers presented a beautiful cake, and we were about to make our major business expansion news when Melissa abruptly got up. She blurted out that she had some news of her own instead of the toast or anything I had assumed she would bring. Glancing around the room with this haughtiness, she declared, "I'm pregnant, 3 months along." I pledge you could have heard a pin drop. Everyone, including her boyfriend James, who seemed totally blindsided, was shocked. He glanced at her as though he cannot believe what he was hearing. The range of feelings I experienced at that moment, shock, hurt, anger, all of which struck me simultaneously, is difficult for me to even start to explain. Though I have always wanted to make that kind of announcement myself, given all Brian and I have gone through with infertility, I realized that time might never happen. And here was Melissa, grabbing our evening to deliver her bombshell, knowing of my difficulties. Some of our visitors had pitying stares, and that made me wish to vanish. Still, I kept my cool rather than setting out a scene. Though I was dying within, I smiled broadly and complimented her. Although Brian's hand under the table allowed me to relax, I knew he was equally unhappy as I was. Originally scheduled this evening to honor our successes, today it became a celebration of Melissa's pregnancy. I said my congrats, then excused myself and vanished to the bathroom to cool off. I needed 1 minute to collect my ideas and stop the tears from flowing. She stole it entirely from us. It was meant to be our night. Given what we have gone through, I found it incomprehensible why she would act so carelessly. Still, this was Melissa, always seeking to be the center of attention, regardless of cost. Brian and I were still contemplating what had transpired early the next morning. We tried to concentrate on the positives, that is, the nice comments from our friends and the way the business news had been received. But it was difficult to move past the hurt and irritation. Though I hadn't expected to hear from Melissa very soon, there was a loud bang at the door as we were seated for breakfast. When I opened it, Melissa was standing there glaringly angry. Hurrying into the living room, she passed me without waiting. She started a frenzy before I could ask what was going on, charging me for spiking the food at the party to make her sick. She insisted she had been throwing up all night and morning and felt I had done something out of jealousy over her pregnancy. I was totally surprised. Spiking the food? What I was listening to astounded me. She was told that was absurd, that we had professionally catered meals, and that there was no way anything could have been changed. She wouldn't pay attention though. She said that I had to have done something and insisted on seeing the party CCTV footage to clear my name. Melissa was not having it when Brian entered the room trying to cool her down. She was yelling, screaming all kinds of crazy charges, and really I had no idea what to say. That she would even consider me capable of something so sinister infuriated and wounded me. The whole matter is becoming rapidly more dangerous. Should I fail to present Melissa the tape right then and there, Melissa threatened to call the police and press charges. She was behaving totally illogically, and I had no idea what to do. Though another part of me wanted to show her the film merely to shut her down and establish I had done nothing wrong, part of me wanted to throw her out of the house. She wasn't having it when Brian tried to reason with her, saying that perhaps she was simply suffering morning sickness. Nothing we said would make her change her mind. She was sure I had done anything to compromise her pregnancy. Just wanted it to stop. I felt as though I was in some kind of twisted dream. A few more minutes of yelling and accusations later, I at last consented to show her the CCTV film. I thought that was the only approach to persuade her to cool off and leave our peace intact. I called up the recordings from the previous evening and Brian and I guided her to the room housing the film. I kept looking at Melissa as we watched the video, expecting for her to see how ludicrous her charges were. The film captured everything: guests arriving, supper being presented and everyone having fun. Nothing out of the usual, no odd behavior, and most definitely no proof I had touched the food. Melissa doubled down nevertheless, instead of retreating. She began dissecting every minute detail in the video, alleging that certain attendees appeared uneasy or that perhaps the caterers had done at my request was wrong. She was clearly not going to let this go, she was grabbing at straws. She then turned to me out of nowhere and declared, if I didn't confess to what I'd done, she would take this to the next level. She was discussing urgent charges, visiting law enforcement and even suing me for what she claimed to have been an attempt to damage her unborn child. Never had I seen her like this before. So enraged, so resolved to have me the villain in her narrative. When Brian tried to step in once more, implying that Melissa might be simply overwhelmed with all that was happening in her life, she was not having it. She was dead focused on having me pay for something I had not even done. I didn't understand why she seemed to be on a mission to ruin me. I became stuck. She would assume I was hiding something if I hadn't shown her the footage, but even with it, she wasn't happy. I had no idea what else I could do to prove my innocence, and the idea of her dragging this out in front of courts or the police horrified me. I simply wanted the whole thing to stop. I was totally lost. I'm thus left wondering, Reddit, how I should address this. Should I keep trying to reason with Melissa, or should I enable her to forward with her threats and handle the consequences? All of this baffles and hurts me greatly. I have no idea what to do. Update 1. Hey Reddit, thanks for the guidance and encouragement. Things have turned wild, and I have to tell what happened next. I chose to attentively check the CCTV footage following Melissa's tantrum to be sure I had not missed anything. Though I expected nothing, I was driven to clear my name and put this entire disaster behind me. Something struck my eye as I was viewing the footage. James, Melissa's boyfriend, stood close to the drink table during the party. It was delicate, but when Melissa turned away, I saw him slide something into her drink. What the fuck was happening? Several times I watched the video to be sure I wasn't seeing things, but it was obvious. James had clearly placed something in her drink. I started to shock. What had he done? Explain why. Though I knew I had to face him about it, I also realized this would cause even more upheaval. I requested James to visit when I phoned him. Though he sounded tense, he agreed. I wasted no time when he got here. Showing him the video, I insisted on an explanation. At first he tried to deny it. But when he realized there was no going around it, he finally admitted. James owned up to having tainted Melissa's drink with Plan B. She had been pressuring him to have a baby, he said, and he wasn't ready for that kind of dedication. Melissa reportedly had been lying to him about using birth control and he freaked out upon learning of it. In a flash of fear, he dropped the pill into her drink, trying to stop the pregnancy without facing her squarely. I said nothing at all. Her boyfriend drugged her to stop her from becoming pregnant. For actual? James confessed, and I had no idea what to do going forward. Furious, outraged, and even a little afraid of what this would imply for all the people involved. Though I knew it would destroy Melissa, I realized I couldn't keep this to myself. She deserved the truth. I urged Melissa to come over when I phoned her. She was still furious when she got there, most likely anticipating another argument about the meal. But her face went white when I told her what James had done. She first just stared shocked at me without saying anything. She first tried to dispute it, claiming I must have somehow edited the recording, when I showed her the video. But the data was clearly there, and finally she had to confront reality. She moved from denial to rage when it sank her at last. She began yelling at James, calling him every name found in a book. She was tossing stuff and blaming him for destroying her life, so it was a full-fledged tantrum. Then in the middle of her tirade, she blurted out something even more startling. She acknowledged her lying about her pregnancy. Fearful James was about to leave, she claimed she made up the pregnancy to try to trap him back into her house. She reasoned that he would have to commit totally if he thought she was expecting his child. I stood absolutely stunned. Here I was believing she was really pregnant and that she had told me at my party out of some sick craving for attention, but it was all a lie, a hopeless, pitiful attempt to control James. And now her lie had exploded in front of her in the worst conceivable manner. Then Melissa turned on me and started accusing me of destroying everything. She said she could have maintained the lie and things would have been better if I hadn't shown her the video. It still astounded me. Even after all she had done, she was still working to twist events to make me the bad guy. My dad and Diane arrived in the thick of this turmoil as if things couldn't get bad. Melissa apparently had called them on her way over, screaming about how I was out to get her, so they came over to cool things up. Still, they strolled in exactly as Melissa was heading off on James. Things were anarchy. Diane launched Melissa's defense right away, asking what I had done to irritate her daughter. Diane would not hear me trying to explain everything. James spiking the drink. Melissa lying about the pregnancy. Saying I had always been jealous and was only searching for a means to destroy Melissa's life, she accused me of setting her up. My dad, on the other hand, first said nothing. After seeing the tape and listening to James, he turned to Melissa with an expression I had never seen before. Not even does disappointment start to cover it. She had done, lying about something as significant as a pregnancy, controlling everyone around her, and then turning on me for revealing the truth, something he couldn't believe. My dad backed me in a dispute with Melissa for the first time. He advised her to accept accountability for her behavior as what she did was unacceptable. Of course, Melissa did not respond particularly well. She began to cry, claiming that she is always the one blamed while I am treated like the golden kid and that no one else ever supports her. Diane took great offense at my dad for not standing up for Melissa. She charged him with deserting their family and enabling me to turn him against them. With Melissa screaming in the background, the whole event descended into a protracted quarrel between my dad and Diane. It was a horrible catastrophe. All I wanted was everyone to go. They finally did. Melissa was still sobbing and Diane glared at me like I was the devil when my dad advised Melissa and Diane to head home and cool off. I was utterly exhausted. All I wanted was a decent anniversary party and business news, and suddenly this catastrophe had my family in disarray. Right now I'm at a complete loss, hence I could really appreciate some guidance on how to handle this. Update 2. Good Reddit, I'm back offering more updates. Since that turbulent day, things have become convoluted, and I am still trying to make sense of it all. Word got around among our relatives and friends once the dust settled from the major disclosure on James spiking Melissa's drink. Though you know how these things go, people talk, I did not want it. Concerned about the situation, business associates and a few close friends contacted me. While some were encouraging, others seemed concerned about how this mistake may damage my company's standing. Given something as serious as accusations of spiking cocktails and lying about a pregnancy, I suppose that makes sense. No one wants to be connected with scandal. Though within I was slightly panicking, I told them everything was under control. Having this drama leak into my work life is the last thing I need. Regarding Melissa, her standing has suffered greatly. Those who attended the party, especially those who personally heard her announcement, are now challenging all she says. She has been avoiding social media, which is unusual for her. Some of her shared acquaintances have also distanced themselves. She enjoys the attention normally, but right now it seems as though she is hiding. Regarding family dynamics, things have become even more convoluted. James split from Melissa soon after everything became clear. Unable to handle the aftermath, he was naturally enraged over being controlled. Naturally, Melissa blames me for the breakup. She says they would still be together if I hadn't showed her the film. Classic Melissa, dodging accountability instead of assigning guilt. About the whole thing, my dad is truly conflicted. Though Melissa's behavior calls for a soft spot for him usually, this time he seems to be questioning it. I never would have imagined him saying that, but he has been discussing severing relations with her. It has severely damaged his relationship with Diane, who is still protecting Melissa. Things between them are, at least, tense, and I worry it may cause further major problems in their marriage. Given all that has transpired, I have been giving legal action against James. Great thought. Though it was under Plan B, what he did, spiking Melissa's drink, was utterly out of line. Speaking with a lawyer, they advised me that things may get complicated even though they stated I have a case should I wish to file charges. Given the whole affair has gone public, James might countersue for slander, particularly now. It's a lot to consider and I'm not sure if the extra stress is worth it. Melissa has been flitting about threats of a lawsuit against me for emotional suffering at the same time. She is claiming great mental trauma from my showing of the CCTV footage and revealing of her lies. Although it's ridiculous, the attorney encouraged me to treat it seriously should she choose to act. If it comes to a countersuit, we are looking at possibilities. But to be honest, the thought of attending court over this makes me ill. I simply want this dream to fade. To aggravate things, Diane is entirely on Melissa's side. Just ridiculous is her insistence on my dad acting legally against me. Though it's driving a gulf between him and Diane, my dad is happily not entertained by that thought. More frequently staying at our house, he is trying to avoid the stress at home. Though I hate to see him trapped in the middle, I have no idea how to correct it. I am currently attempting to concentrate on safeguarding my company and myself. Just in case things get more intense, I have added more security devices at home and at the office. I have also begun recording everything, every contact, every threat. So I have evidence should this go before court. Although it seems overkill, I would much prefer to be safe than regret. Edit 1. To try to save what remains of our family, my dad advised family therapy. He is eager to mend things with Diane and, I believe, still harboring hope that we may somehow mend our connection with Melissa. Though I realized how much the concept meant to him, I wasn't excited about it. I consented nevertheless. Diane grudgingly consented as well, although Melissa first flatly objected. She finally agreed to one session, simply to hear everyone out, after some persuasion though. The session turned out clearly as a fiasco. The therapist tried to mediate, but Melissa was antagonistic from the time we arrived. She spent much of the time portraying the victim, blaming me for destroying her life and asserting that I had always been envious of her. She maintained that James and her would be happy and planning their future together if I hadn't intervened. It was all about how I had exposed her and about how unfair it was that she was the one suffering as a result. Diane was not improved either. She blamed me for boiling the pot and generating all this turmoil, shielding Melissa at every turn. She even had the gall to advise me to have handled things privately and kept silent about the CCTV evidence to spare Melissa from humiliation. What I was hearing astounded me. I was supposed to simply let Melissa carry on with her lies and manipulation to keep the peace. Although my dad attempted to be impartial, he once lost his cool. Melissa was advised by him to own her behavior and cease attributing her troubles to others. Diane interpreted that as a betrayal, and the two of them descended into a shouting war. The therapist sought control, but it was too late. Melissa bolted, screaming that she was done with all of us, and Diane trailed her out. My dad was seated there looking disappointed at the end of the session. He said he didn't know what else to do and that perhaps it was time to realize things wouldn't get better. He apologized to me. Seeing him so distraught broke my heart and made me understand that this could be beyond save. For Melissa, things have only gotten worse following the catastrophic therapy session. She lost her job, according to what I heard via common friends. She seems to have had unpredictable behavior, missing work or arriving late. At last her manager had enough and let her leave. Though I'm not surprised, it is nevertheless depressing to see her descend this way. She has also been disseminating online rumors about me. She has been tweeting accusing me of ruining her life and turning our family against her. She even made ludicrous hints suggesting I edited the footage to make James seem bad. Although most people who know the whole truth are not purchasing it, some seem to be devouring it. It hurts, and it makes me wonder whether I should have kept things private even though I know that would have only served to hasten the unavoidable. My dad is bordering on insane with concern. Melissa has not responded when he tried getting in touch. Naturally upset with him for not supporting Melissa more, Diane blames him for driving her away. Their marriage might not survive this. Things between them are precariously hanging. Diane's hard set against my dad's even talking about stopping Melissa's financial support, expecting it will drive her to get her life together. I am at the very end of it. Though it's not that easy, I have thought about totally severing relations to Melissa. She is still family, and despite all, I find myself thinking about her always. I cannot, however, continue to let her pull everyone else down. I have begun researching legal choices to guard against the falsehoods she is disseminating online. Though my attorney is counseled to write a cease and desist letter, I am unsure. Though I can't allow her to keep lying about me, I also don't want to let things get much more escalated. Update 3. 6 months later. Hey Reddit. After everything fell apart 6 months ago, I at last have some excellent news to report. Following all the tension, turmoil, and emotional roller coasters, something wonderful happened. I discovered I'm pregnant. And it occurred organically, against all chances, not through IVF or any other procedure. Though Brian and I are over the moon, given everything that has transpired with Melissa, we have been careful about who we inform. We agreed to keep it under wraps until I reached into my second trimester. We at last had something to celebrate after years of heartache and disappointment, but concurrently we harbored an underlying anxiety about Melissa's reaction should she find out. Since the whole episode with James, she has been out of control. The last thing we wanted was for her to find a means of ruining this for us too. We have kept the pregnancy under wraps, only informing a small number of close friends and intimate relatives. When we told Dad, he was overjoyed and has been quite helpful. Diane, on the other hand, responded somewhat inconsistently. She seemed a little aloof as well as pleased for us. She still finds it difficult to deal with everything that transpired with Melissa, so it is influencing her attitude to my news. Though there is conflict, Brian and I are emphasizing the good. We have begun organizing the nursery and creating baby arrival plans. At last, being in this place after all we have gone through relieves us. Though I'm trying to be hopeful, I can't say the anxiety of anything going wrong has totally vanished. We knew it would be difficult as we neared the time to tell the rest of the family about the pregnancy. We made a conscious choice not to invite Melissa, even though we wanted to arrange a small private party with just our closest family members, my dad, Diane, Peter, and some friends. We felt leaving her out of it was safer and less taxing after all that had transpired. The day of the conference arrived and I felt both anxious and thrilled. After everyone had finished our modest supper, Brian and I got up to make our announcement. As I told everyone the news, my heart was pounding, but the response was just what we could have asked for. Peter was delighted at the prospect of being an uncle, while my dad was ecstatic and leaped to hug us both. Though I could see she was holding back a little, even Diane grinned and congratulated us despite her recent distancing. Diane inquired whether we had told Melissa, and there was a period of awkwardness following the initial enthusiasm. Everyone in the room was clearly tense waiting for my response. We hadn't told her yet, I said, and with everything that has transpired, we weren't sure how to approach it. Diane appeared torn while my dad nodded in comprehension. She pulled back, most likely thinking it wasn't the proper time, even though I wanted her to offer Melissa over. With everyone toasting to the new family addition, we ended the evening on a positive note. It seemed like a turning point, as though perhaps we were at last past all the drama and suffering. The news got out the following day. Although we hadn't yet put anything on social media, in our family word of mouth travels quickly. Not long after, I began receiving texts from friends and relatives all wishing well. I knew it was just a matter of time before Melissa found out, even as I was savoring the optimism and trying to keep focused on the happiness of the moment. Later on that evening, sure enough, my dad called. He seemed tense and mentioned Melissa had learned about the pregnancy through common connections. She was enraged, he said, outraged that we hadn't informed her straight and that she had to learn through someone else. He cautioned me that she might show up at our place. He was right. Melissa showed up at our house that very night, exactly as my dad had cautioned. As Brian and I were relaxing from the day and savoring a quiet moment together, we heard pounding on the front door. I recognized it even before I unlocked the door. Melissa looked angry, almost unhinged as I let her in. She launched her tirade without wasting any time. She stated it was obvious I was trying to eradicate her from the family and accused me of purposefully keeping her off the announcement. She continued on about how unjust it was, how she had gone through so much, and how I was rubbing my pregnancy in her face. She wasn't having any of it when I attempted to remain cool and explain that we had kept the pregnancy under wraps for a purpose and that we were going to inform her once we were ready. She persisted in saying that I had done this to pay her back off for what James had done. Sadly, she was essentially rewriting history to present herself as the victim, therefore painting a picture of nothing new. The exchange descended rapidly into a yelling match. As the baby's aunt, she insisted she had a right to be involved and asked to be a part of her life. But considering all that has happened, Brian and I had already decided to create some strict limits. We explained to her that although we wouldn't cut her off entirely, we wanted time and space to concentrate on our new family free from continual upheaval. She finally lost it entirely at that. Melissa began yelling that we were isolating her, that we were attempting to take away the only family she had left, and that she would make our lives terrible if we allowed her to participate. Brian intervened, reminding her she should go and that should she keep threatening us, we would discuss obtaining a restraining order. She hurled herself and slammed the door behind her. Having to threaten legal action against my own stepsister merely to preserve the peace in my family astounded me. Melissa's reaction made Brian and I realize we had to make some difficult choices. We filled my dad in on what had transpired when we spoke. Though I could see he was very depressed by the whole situation, he was not surprised. Although he has always strived to keep the family together, he also acknowledged that this time things had gone too far. My dad totally approved of our choice to impose limits on Melissa. He even advised us to think about temporarily cutting off our interaction with her until she receives the care she obviously requires. Diane, though, told a different tale. She contacted me, obviously disturbed when she learned what had transpired. Saying Melissa was only going through a difficult period and that cutting her off would only make things worse, she begged me to rethink. Diane didn't seem to get my explanation, that we were merely establishing limits for our own sanity rather than cutting her off entirely. She insisted that families should stick together no matter what, but I believe she is in denial about the harm Melissa's behavior has caused. Ultimately, Brian and I agreed to carry out our strategy. Melissa is only involved in our life when absolutely required. We are keeping minimum touch with her. At our house, we have also added more security devices in case she attempts another wild pull-off. Though I wanted things to be, I have to give my expanding family's safety and well-being top priority. Regarding my dad and Diane, their relationship is now considerably more tense. My dad has been spending more time away from home, lodging with friends or visiting our house. Diane is still trying to keep everything together, but I can tell the tension is wearing her down as well. Though I'm not sure what will happen with them, I hope they can sort things out without totally separating themselves. Right now, I'm mostly concentrating on my pregnancy and getting ready for our baby to arrive. Though it's difficult when it feels like everything is precariously balanced, I'm trying to remain upbeat and keep the drama at a distance. I simply want to savor this period without thinking about the next family catastrophe just waiting around. Update 4. 1 year later. Hey Reddit. It's been a year since my previous update, and I'm glad life has turned around much needed. Few months back, Brian and I welcomed a healthy baby daughter into the world. Emily is absolutely flawless, we called her. Given all the tension I had during my pregnancy, it was great relief when the birth went well and Emily and I were both healthy. Brian has been a really outstanding parent. He is hands-on with everything from late-night feeds to diaper changes and utterly smitten with Emily. It has deepened our relationship even more, and I would most want to have him at my side. About the rest of the family, things have been challenging but under control. With the continuous drama involving Melissa and Diane, my dad has been a loving grandpa visiting our house practically daily to see Emily. Diane has been trying to be more involved, to her credit. She's been trying to be a good grandma, and I'm trying to meet her halfway to help to keep the peace even if there is still some friction between us. Turning to Melissa's issue. Following the conflict a year ago, we stayed away as scheduled. Melissa first found it difficult. She kept snapping out on social media and made a few more attempts to get up unannounced. But some months ago something changed. Unbelievably, Diane persuaded Melissa to begin treatment. Though I had low expectations from it, Melissa seems to be at last making some development. My dad claims Melissa has been routinely attending treatment and has even begun to admit some of her prior actions. She contacted me a few weeks ago to really apologize rather than to assign blame or accusations. Though it was a brief note, it seemed honest. She said she was working on herself and realized she had been acting out of envy and hurt. She stated she hoped we might have a relationship eventually, even if it would take time, not asking for forgiveness. Though I was careful to reply, finally I responded briefly thanking her for getting in touch. I told her I'm willing to restore our connection, but it would have to be slow and under my terms. She has thus so far shown respect, more than I would have expected. Melissa seems to be doing well generally and also started a new career. She's not returning to her former self, but she is displaying maturity that I really never would have expected. Though still on guard, I am gently hopeful. Though I'm not ready to let her back into my life completely and trust won't be established overnight, I'm hoping this could be the beginning of something wonderful. I suppose that is it. I appreciate all of your support and counsel throughout the past year. Though it's been an unusual road, I'm glad to have somewhere to share it all. If something noteworthy occurs, I will keep you informed. But for now I'm simply looking forward to savoring life with my small family and seeing where the future leads us. My wife of 8 years had an affair and shattered me. Now I'm left picking up the pieces, trying to heal and be the best dad I can to our son. I, 31 am still rather devastated over all of this even now after divorce. Having turned in the final divorce decree, I am seated outside the courthouse. Last Wednesday, my cheating lousy wife, 30F, dropped by my office so I could have her sign the final papers. My brother and I manage a store, so we were busy, but I had her come to sign the last paperwork at the back. As I was working on some chores, she read it over. Then I saw she was at the last page staring at it, then at me. Not only peering, she seemed to be begging and had a tiny welling of tears. It was quite frustrating. I advised her not to engage in this garbage and to either sign or not. She opened her lips then closed them once again. Not to pull bullshit like this when she's dating and hooking with other people, I became enraged and instructed her to speak what she had to say. She has not expressed any want to mend our friendship. She signed the forms and left head down. We ended up talking in her car for a second after I had to hunt her down to ask about our stimulus money. She inquired about our son. He's not biologically mine, but I have been there for him since he was 4. Though I try to interact with him every morning, I informed her he doesn't really talk to me anymore. She only nodded and looked dejected. I gently informed her that I was allowing her one chance to speak her truth. She simply stared at me. Furious, I told her she never loved me first of all. She stated it wasn't true, tears running down her face. She wouldn't have considered cheating, I informed her, if she loved me really. Even when other ladies approached me, I had always been loyal. I always turned away as I knew my wife wouldn't enjoy it. I advised her to get in touch with me when she had my money. I wish I had known she didn't love me from the beginning. It would have saved time, effort, and suffering. It is killing me. The hearing scheduled to finish it all is tomorrow. I'm recuperating, rediscovering delight in things I used to enjoy, and loving exercise more. Though I can't seem to find it in me to truly talk to them or try for a date, I'm looking better, getting attention from women, and that's wonderful. Still, my heart longs for her. My heart still loves her. I wish I could take it out and bury it permanently. Though I know I have to go through these emotions and welcome this new life, I'm having trouble. The end of this procedure is surely bringing all these emotions to the forefront. Comments. You did what you were supposed to. You will need time to put this behind you. Her crocodile tears center on losing a home base to Monkey Branch. The greatest disrespect is cheating, and it never comes from a place of love. You're better off, time will help you move on. Thank you for your help, I am working on moving on. I have many I just wish ideas to shove aside and let go. OP. You adored someone she used to be. Today she is not that person. Though it is difficult, disconnecting takes time. If anything, I will use this time to heal and appreciate what I do today. It will make me a better person generally. You cannot simply switch off and on your emotions. Never give your morals or standards any concessions. Don't force yourself to start looking for another companion. Be selective and date when you are ready. Let alone offer my body to another woman, I am not looking to enter yet another relationship. The most I'm hurrying is trying to not feel anything for her. As you pointed out, it's a process. Sometimes, oh man, I do want to sacrifice my morals. I want to tell each parent of my son's soccer squad everything about the person she is and email blast all of them. I want to print flyers to plaster her preferred locations and publish it all over Instagram. But none of that is me. I know that person is not who I am. I'm just still hurting and really trying to mend. I greatly appreciate your nice comments and support. They really mean a lot. I understand that it seems so unjust and as if justice does not exist on our planet. Don't jump in the mud with the pigs, you'll get dirty too and be mistaken for a pig. My grandma often advised me. Never treat yourself less than that. While some individuals reject karma, indeed it is quite gradual but also meticulous. She will be revealed one day, or something will transpire to grant her the justice she so deserves. You only have to be loyal to yourself. Your children will also see it. They will know you as the one who did not devalue themselves. Just treat yourself politely. Update 1, yesterday was that. Here I am today, single and most certainly in shock. Other than having this massive pit in my gut, I'm not sure how I should feel. She understood the timing of the hearing, but I find a Zoom call to the court to be just so impersonal. Of course, I realize, safety comes first. Still, it doesn't particularly feel real. It really hasn't really sunk me. I mean, I can acquire a copy of the signed document and declare myself to be divorced. A couple of my buddies want to know whether I want to go celebrate. They want to be there for me, they are lovely about it. They are not being nasty or resentful. And that feels great. I simply have not known how to approach this. I should be feeling free, yet maybe I should be crying once more. Oddly enough, I simply want to hear my wife's voice. Unfortunately, I no longer have a wife. Some stranger that sounds like her and wears her face. Though it's only a resigned kind of sensation, I can sense tears gathering. Here I am, simply me. Furthermore, my dog. I have very few friends, but they are the finest. I have a great and fantastic family. Thus, support is discussed. I merely feel empty, exhausted and drained. What should my next action be is unknown. Tell my son that it has happened over the phone. Say F it all, and go to Italy to begin exploring sites. Go back to Vegas with my old buddies for a desert recharging trip. I truly want to be laying here in silence, staring at the ceiling. Naturally though, life has to go on and so should I. I appreciate all of your support and ideas, especially book recommendations. I'm eager to at least start since I'm picking those up today. I never imagined myself in this place. Notes. Italy's timing is horrible, but whenever it becomes sensible, that has my enthusiastic vote. Vegas is a temporary prospect with friend events instead of the still skeletal and dreary casino resort life. Mountains and the weather are just beautiful. I left McCarran yesterday straight out. My friend, I find myself in the same boat. This afternoon at 3 o'clock I am signing paperwork. She departed and deserted our family on our 22nd wedding anniversary almost 2 years ago. I say every word you are using exactly. Simply said, I feel hollow and worn out by the struggle. Hang in there, friend, better things are just waiting for us. One breath at a time, one stride in front of the other, we simply have to be patient and gentle to ourselves. Recall this, we deserve better. Damn, I sense your words suffering. Regards, apologies. Update 2. The last post I produced was seen above the last time I blogged. Right now it's really upsetting me as I'm still kind of disoriented inside. Like me, my ex-wife, crazy to type it out, was off to work. At the same junction, we both stopped. She was turning right to ride on the freeway I had just left off, while I was going to turn left under the overpass. Like metal butterflies ripping up my insides, my heart and stomach sprang with the same familiar, exhilarating and lately terrible sensations. We made eye contact until the light changed, then each drove our separate directions. Both literally and metaphorically, I could not think of a more appropriate comparison for the state of affairs. Still feeling longing, grief, rage, disappointment, nausea, and a rainbow of other depression-inducing emotions, here I am typing out my pain. I wish I could be indifferent for the love of God. I wish I could rip out, root in all this deep-seated affection. Her and her stupidity justifies nothing. Though it's exactly what I want not to feel, is still in love with her. Her scent, her warmth, the sensation of her hair brushing against my face and mixing with my beard, the feel of her soft skin against my bare chest, the rhythm of her heart against my arms when I held her in the dark, these are the sweetest dreams I have of her. Recently they have been most vivid. She left such an effect on me when it was so darn simple for her to demolish everything we had created together. Yes, I understand it is past. Indeed, I understand the sensation might never go away. Indeed, I understand that processing trauma will take time. I am tired of processing though, of feeling the hurt, of sobbing, of reminding myself that it is okay to not be okay. I miss experiencing even-keeled. Every day seems like I'm standing on a platform precariously atop a damned barrel. Some days it's all good. I got this, balance can be kept. I've been doing it for 8 months, therefore I should be used to this. Other days though, I feel as though the agony of betrayal never lets me find even a tiny respite. I trip off the platform since right now equilibrium is useless. We can rather clearly tell the kind of day this one is. Usually, it becomes worse before it improves. I despise platitudes. Gang. Update 3, made the 3-week mark, the final post above. I watched our son's middle school soccer game yesterday and was so happy to see him. How much he has changed and how big he is. He's so darn tall, his voice is cracking, and it's weird not to have personally seen it. Feeling like I was being watched from the bleachers, I didn't see my ex-wife until practically half hour. I turned and our gazes met squarely. Her parents were seated with her. They lost the game, sadly, but the team rocked it still. I waited for the squad to pass over the bleachers as people filed off them. I nodded, using their first names, but her parents passed past if I hadn't uttered a word. I laughed and let the throng pass. Not over the phone or via text, it was great to hug my kid and chat with him personally when I waited for him at the team exit. The thrill of seeing each other once more permeated every moment. At last, my ex came up to tell our son loving words. Since I depend on her for those specifics, I asked her when the next game is scheduled. Our chat was clinical. We know we're not decent and most certainly aren't buddies. After instructing her not to sit next to me at the last game, I made that plain. Let's go, she tells our son, and he gives me a long embrace. I love him, I tell him. Though difficult, I do let go. I turn and go in the other way from my car, not looking at her or bidding farewell. The one I listened to and loved for almost a decade wants to run over and grab her, kiss those lips, hug her body in my arms, and feel her warmth and heartbeat, the one I feel slightly betrayed by my heart because of. I have to aggressively control it. Not until I come home and sit in silence to reflect on everything will there be tears. Even then though, they are few. I'm still figuring out these emotions. I still experienced additional wonderful dreams of hers till this morning. Once more, I feel as if I am fighting my own body and my own thoughts. I'm doing everything I can. I work out practically every day and eat clean with perhaps 1 or 2 cheat meals a week. I have poured myself into the business of my brother and find it to be flourishing. To be very honest, we never had this many staff members. It's fantastic. I am studying about stocks and investing, reading more, and certifying myself for IT jobs. Most of all, Jack, my corgi, is my other little kid and always wants to play. Filling the emptiness is odd. It certainly seems like a vast gaping void inside me. Being a father and a husband was great fun. As Hurricane Harvey approached Texas, we nearly decided to have another kid. In our house we were safe, dry, and not at all impacted. Though by November we knew she was pregnant, there were plenty of fun, crazy, and somewhat exotic events. Money, space, and our present circumstances finally led us both to agree that we should stop the pregnancy and not have another kid. I wonder if things would be different, whether we would be at this place now, And if she would have **** at another person. This has started me thinking back. Yes, I know the what if game is never a nice place to be. Never a good thing to linger on. But lately it's just been emerging more and more in my mind. Let alone the dreams, like I had last night of my beautiful wife and what could have been our little girl or our second little boy. It makes me miss my son even more, and it irritates me that she would not let me adopt him. She said that I could only after all this garbage had transpired. I apologize for the protracted post. I simply find myself repeating and ranting last night in my head. It hasn't even been a year since she broke off our relationship. I know it's still early and quite fresh following the divorce. I suppose all I can say is that today I'm not feeling it. It's almost 10 a.m. I haven't gotten out of bed. That she still affects me and how I feel every time I see her bothers me. Update 4. Hey everyone. At last I have developed an apathetic attitude. Other than that I'm feeling happier more consistently, I'm not really sure what to say. Right now I'm working out on a schedule. Cooking more, and experimenting. I have been picking up writing once more and presently work on a short story. To see the Phoenix Suns defeat the Nuggets I flew to Denver. I'm about to head to Oregon to visit a cousin, do some hiking, and try tubing in a new place. Though, my bond with my son is different. I got in touch, he seems really busy. Though man, this is what it feels like to have a full-on teenage son. I'm doing my best to be understanding. Lunch and meals here and there, I suppose I will grab what I can. Simply said, I miss being with him consistently. I now go on dates with someone. She manages her own companies, is just fantastic, independent, intelligent, strong, mature, runs slow here. She is aware of my circumstances and both of us are cautious not to leap in too quickly. Still, it's amazing. Our interests are somewhat similar, we have easy communication and our goals are rather apparent. Even now, when we are simply lounging about, it is just calm. I am attempting to keep myself from developing any negative habits or tendencies. Simply said, it is fantastic to feel good once more. She asked yesterday, what will happen if, and when another man gets involved with my son? To be honest, I'm not sure. If he doesn't reach out, then it's just me having to sit back and hope for the best for him. I will be there for him is all I dare think or say. In this I have no legal clout or rights. Fortunately, I have seen her face to her face and I truly don't feel anything for my ex. Though I'm trying to take it day by day and hope I keep recovering and finding happiness more and more, whatever that means, that my son and I can have a better relationship and that I not muck this up with this amazing woman. I appreciate your support, counsel, book recommendations and encouragement all around. That was therefore fleeting, tragically. The incredible woman was disturbed by my April divorce and feels that I'm not over her since I call our son ***. I just mention him in reference to co-parenting and the fact that I have to go through her for anything pertaining to him. I have a son. She's also saying she still has to recuperate from a breakup she went through 3 months ago with a guy she loved. I could see the healing, but I couldn't picture involving someone new with my son at this age. November is his 14th birthday, and it's ****ing strange when others tell me what I feel and get wrong. She also objects to being a stepmother. I never even brought up her young 4-year-old daughter. Once more, I am living that part of my life apart from this present one. Why is this troubling to me? Though in my past relationship I did nothing illegal, I feel like I'm marked. It's held against me after being honest with each other and such, just because I'm divorced and have a much older son who would most certainly never be part of the relationship. Feels quite unjust. If I tell people straight up about my circumstances, I'm accused of not being over my ex. I'm not being real about things if I hold that back and say nothing. Update 5. Some have wondered how this all started and how I got up where I am today, hence I attempted publishing this earlier as an explanation of what went down when things initially started. Though recent, this began in July of last year. Far from all this, I am appreciative of all the guidance, encouragement and kicks in the *** from those who have gone through it and are helping. Alright, so far as things stand, July 2020 started as if everything was going downward. June turned out fantastic. Together with our son and his friend, we had taken a brief trip. We had fun together and the intimacy was amazing. They hung out. July arrived and we were having problems, spats over dumb small things. She showed no desire in closeness. Her day would be of interest to me, but she exhibited no curiosity about me. Long bathroom stays and baths all the damn time, yet she wanted to gripe about not spending time with us. July passed like this. August started to get more tense. She even tried to present me with lingerie and stated it would be for my birthday, like if everything was normal. My birthday arrives, She gets me several LPs but nothing particularly noteworthy. I had a tough day at work. She did too apparently, and we ended up cooking and hanging around together. I reasoned, it's a workday and it's whatever. She seems not truly present but delivers intimacy. We had several major arguments in September at last, one of which she begged to have some alone time. Though this was suspicious, I became insane as I felt our marriage was falling apart. As correct as me. Taking the dogs, I headed to spend the evening with my brother and his family. I returned home early in the afternoon the following day. I never stopped her from hanging out with her friends. She had mentioned she wanted to go before I arrived. I arrived home at about 12 o'clock. At 6 or 7 she arrived home. Happy to see her, I told her when I saw her. She said the month was awful and that week was especially so. She was unpleasant, snarky, straightforward nasty, not kissing me. I kept urging her to tell me what was going on. I wanted us to be fine. I sensed things were off. Now a quite good friend, an acquaintance, expressed concern after seeing me at work. I told him I loved my wife very much. We had been married for 1.5 at this point and had been together for 8.5 years, yet I had no idea what to do. He advised marriage therapy and advised reading *The 5 Love Languages* and another book I cannot remember right now. After reading the book right away I knew I had been giving work too much top priority. Our company is owned by my brother and me. Since COVID, we have been overrun as business has been flourishing. I never stopped trying to love her or be close, both physically and in talks, though even then. She had vanished though. I got home that same day and she was unwell. I looked after hers. As she was getting dressed the next morning, I gently and affectionately requested whether we might talk before she left. Having read the book all night before, I told her everything I had discovered. Although I said I had been lazy, I loved her and advised us to visit marriage counseling to try to mend things because we had our son and loved one another. She broke down crying and kept repeating I was going to hate her, hence anything I said must have set off her. She finally acknowledged that she had cheated on me last weekend when she was with her friends after being urged to be straight up with me. Though I was stunned and totally blown away, I loved my son, marriage and wife. Like a fool, I assured her everything was good, I could forgive her, but she had to come clean on everything. She then clammed up. No names, no information. Basically, she had been having an emotional affair until that day in September and had been chatting to the other man since July. How could I find her credible? I did not. I told her she had parodied our marriage and our vows. It was Thursday. She rejected and offered very little justification when I tried to have a conversation with her that evening. She said she had told the other guy she had confessed to me, but she never consented to discuss things. Friday comes around the same way. I'm dry heaving, haven't slept, feel eerie, furious, and damaged within. When Saturday finally arrived, my brother advised me to go home and go out what was happening after seeing the damage I was causing. She got up, started working out, and I stayed a mess all the while. I phoned my father, who had been the cheater in his marriage, but my mother and he sorted things out. Their marriage has been wonderful for 38 years now. I asked him for his opinion. He said, she understood exactly what she was doing. It's not a mistake. She has to decide. If she doesn't, that tells you all you need to know. Though a wreck, I got myself together. I made sure our son was looked after and tidied the house. I then descended to our apartment gym and instructed her to come see me after she finished. She showed up half an hour later, and I gently reminded her that she had to decide between our family and marriage or the other guy. All I got was, I don't know, and she requested for some time. I agreed on the stipulation that she not see or contact him. She agreed and headed for a 2-hour run. On an app, I could see her whereabouts. She returned, at last saw I had cleaned the place and started to cry. What she had decided, I asked her. Once more it was a profusion of I don't know. She muttered, it's over, at last as I pushed her. Okay, I answered. I grabbed a duffel bag, stuffed some clothes inside, and she started crying since I was truly leaving. I was crying too. My son is distracted with computer games, so he's good when I kiss him and tell him I'm going to spend a short time at his uncle's. I bail, I tell her I'll be back in the morning for my stuff. When I arrive at about 6 a.m. the next morning, I take trash bags right away and head straight into our bedroom, bathroom and closet to begin packing everything I own into them. Tears flowing, she sits up in bed staring at me. She probes me about what I'm doing and I tell her she made her choice. She begins to wail. Though it breaks my heart, my wife is also wanted once more. Like a fool, I lie in bed with her, embrace her and kiss her for half an hour. She has to come clean. I assure her it doesn't have to be this way. Silence. Furious, I yelled at her that all of this was useless. I pack and inform her my father and brother are at a cafe 5 minutes away, waiting for my call to assist with the heavy stuff. It is 11 a.m. by now, and I have bagged everything. She wants us to tell our son what? We go wake him and give him a farce of an explanation for poor communication. She says she would rather not see my family. She is embarrassed, hence I do not blame her. She brings our son shopping, and I can tell he's a little disoriented and bewildered. My dad and brother answer when I call. We took my 3 TVs and all the gadgets I had acquired to make our house smart. Naturally, I left my son all his great stuff. I love him and none of this is his fault. She texts me not to go and to wait for her and our son before I head off. I'm waiting. She finds the place looking as though it had been looted. She advises me not to go and notes that our son, enraged, knocked over a display and expressed desire we could still be a family. I give her a look that says nothing nice, and then I tell her naturally he does. I want to, but what the devil is she looking for? Once more with the I have no idea. I say remaining is pointless for me. She should notify her parents as, should they discover it from our kid, they would be enraged. The first week of October arrives next week. I attempt to keep our son on a routine. Some mornings I have to be at work early, so I show up for him, drive him to school, and make breakfast. On other mornings I take him to see his grandparents. I load everything on her parents when they inquire about what's going on. She is sticking to her foolishness even though I tell them we should mend things. I'm not clear. Having learned to love and respect one another, her dad is angry and depressed for me. She is texting me about how she hates herself and finds it hard to believe she accomplished all this. She is still chatting to the other man all through. She even inquires as to if we may get back together. I tell her she knows what she has to do if she wants me back. During the week, I pick up my son after practice and head home. I love him, thus I consent when he wants to show me something. We spent 1 hour in his room. She's a wreck when I walk out to the living room. She approaches me closely and wants me to sit down with her, encircling me with arms. I almost give in, but I get up and tell her I'm not doing this if she's still chatting to or involved with this man. She claims she cut it off, hence I sit down and hug her. We even gently kiss and I touch her. The phone then rings, a new ringtone, and I know she is panicking inside. From her end he has been phoning all day. I ask her to show me she stopped it and stare her in the eyes. She starts to cry and objects. She understands what she has to do if she wants me, I remind her once more. I'm still returning throughout the week to pick up my son from school and even cooking meals to store in the refrigerator. She is not doing laundry. I have to push myself not to do it for her. But I find my son smells from not washing and his blankets are dirty. Her neglect of him calls for me to chastise her. Her friends wanted to take her to the Renaissance Fair that weekend, and I find it amazing how she is acting as if everything is good. She asks whether I might spend a few hours watching our son. I want time with him, therefore I say yes, but even I know I'm not really ready for that. I agree otherwise as well. 4 additional lads walk out and get in my car when I show up after work to fetch him up from his friend's house, probably a sleepover. Not at him, but at her, I am enraged. She understands from my call that I would be leaving should she not return. She is behaving all piffy about it and it takes 3 hours to return. She has the arrogance to argue that spending her birthday with pals shouldn't cause her guilt. She took advantage, and this is never going to happen again. She should feel horrible given all that is going on. Weeping, she asks, "What, am I only supposed to be a mother?" I don't say anything about that either, but god damn it, yes, you picked this before I even entered the scene. We chat a little longer, and she even invites me to stay, to sleep in the same bed and be close. I turn it down and head off. My son strikes me as depressed. Even though it's taxing both financially and emotionally, I keep seeing him since now I'm just 45 minutes away. Her parents just know what I have told them since she is avoiding them too. This is October 25th, the birthday of my ex. Things have been strange. I am shamefully performing the pick-me dance. Monday here, and I'm sending nice video greetings, but she seems apathetic about it. I start with a little present, working my way up, then I go in the morning to look after our son, drive him to school, and then I do what I always do on her birthday week. I cleaned off a picture of the 3 of us at a pumpkin patch when we first got acquainted. It's a lovely image. I developed this itching inside me just before leaving. Though I had no idea what set off me, I started looking about. Opening a fresh shoebox I discovered a new vibrator, a new dildo, and new butt plugs within. When I left I had tossed every toy we owned. She preserved the container as well, and the postmarks date the day I left. Even a gift note including the man's name. Then I found a note tucked within the shoebox. It came from a woman, but her last name matched that of the AP's other gift note. Opening it, I came upon a picture of a family. 2 small boys, a baby, a dog, a guy and a lady. Along with it was a letter informing my ex that she might retain AP but had wrecked her marriage. The woman clarified that she had learned about him from the toys he had sent. I snapped pictures and went right to her parents to show what I had discovered. Get a lawyer, get all my ducks in a row, and then file, her dad advised me, same counsel many of you had given me. That same day I did that. When it arrived a few days later, I handed her the paperwork. We sat on it for months. We attended soccer matches, had a few private evenings, but I wouldn't dare sleep with her even though the chance presented itself. At one soccer game, she eventually observed that I wasn't really at my best. I prodded till she said she was seeing someone. That following week, I turned in every file. We seem caught up right now. Update 6. I returned to the same vacation location I visited last summer in order to snowboard. Just me out here, this was my first true adventure. All wholly mine. I never made the trip to serve as a kind of diversion or anything else. I visited the slopes 10 years ago and performed rather well. I can't describe how emotionally satisfying it is to be without the drag of my ex-wife, who hated everything outdoors, let alone snow or cold. Snowboarding has always made me happy. I was thumbing my ring finger trying to spin the long-gone ring as I strolled throughout the city. Though we had been separated almost 2 years ago, seeing couples engage in Valentine's Day activities somewhat weighs on my heart. It's strange. I suppose I miss having the ring there, especially what the ring ought to have symbolized. Ultimately, though with my ex, it was only a lump of metal and a false promise. I guess I'm simply reflecting, but I can't describe how quite dreamy this has been. After hurting so terribly, the happiness, enthusiasm, laughing and foolishness that have permeated my life seem amazing. Hell, I'm sore and in pain beyond what I can recall from the last time I went snowboarding, but this ache is one I have totally missed. For those of you who are struggling, however, cliched as it seems, it does indeed get better with time. Spend some time grieving and hurting, then go forward. Improve yourself for yourself. I appreciate everyone being there and listening. Update 7. The divorce occurred 2 years ago. This is the month the divorce was finalized. As the title suggests, the dreams are resurfacing. Strange seems to be the situation. Dreaming, we find ourselves at a house I have never seen before. She begs me to accompany her upstairs. We both are nude. We arrive upstairs to what looks to be our room, and she looks me up and down, giving me that smile I remember and liked, then says, "Hi." I have nowhere to start. She walks up, puts her hands in mine, and all I can say back is, "Hi." She presses her body into mine and I encircle her in my arms. Her beautiful skin and warmth really speak to me. She smells her shampoo even now. Actually, I'm pleased my dog woke me up seconds later. This is my second dream for this month. Not since last November, not seen my ex in months. Emotion such things is strange. More of a what the heck kind of emotion. One reason all of this is happening could be my recent house building on my own. I guess I'm just sort of airing out my mind. Today feels odd. My warmest wishes go out to those of you hurting. Update 8. I met with my son yesterday in great anticipation. Since his last birthday, I had not heard anything significant from him. It has been killing me. Again though, I understand how teenagers behave and I'm sure he has a lot on his plate with his middle school to high school change. His mother's obnoxious boyfriend is also a factor. To be honest, when he at last picked up the phone, I got rather happy. Our chat was nice. It took a moment of me telling him what I'd been up to, building a house, our corgi getting older, and as always, our love of video games, to pull him out of his shell. High ranking in Rocket League, he has been invited to a competition including pros scheduled for Twitch broadcast. I really am thrilled for him. We should keep chatting. He promises to email me the link. From his now totally different voice, I take it as a little triumph that he still thinks of me as dad. I am flattered and happy. My heart started feeling it once more a few hours after our afterglow conversation. It was more of a dull ache, just aching deep down within me. It hurt and bothered me enough to cause me to hardly sleep last night. Seeing my attitude, my father asked what was bothering me. I first found it difficult to actually put it into words, but the second time he asked, it came naturally. The weight and suffering still exist even if I'm completely happy when I have my son and can still be a part of his life in any manner he chooses. It's enough to keep my head spinning over why. At this point, I realize the cause has no bearing on anything or would provide comfort. Everything is done and accomplished, however even 2 years down the road it is still fresh and painful. My pride in being my son's dad and my emotions of love and admiration for him are so entwined with the love I had for my ex, which now simply acts as a painful reminder every time I see him. Though I can't say I know what you're feeling, coming from this side of your situation, you may need to ask yourself if the pain and suffering are worth it for your mental health and general well-being. My father, a cheater in his own time but someone who makes amends and keeps on doing so, told me. Though you love him with all your being and the time you spend brings enormous delight, it follows days of rehabilitation for you. I am not advising you to give up on him as, if it were me trying to be there for you, I would never stop. Perhaps you should nonetheless, let go of everything. You gave all you have. I haven't seen you this joyful in a long time. Still, I can see the toll it takes on you. Your emotions divided between your love for your son and the anguish you obviously still have from how you were deceived. I understand he's acting as a father, seeing obvious suffering on my face while his son battles. He would never want it lastingly. Given the lengths of his military training, which trained him to detach himself and view events from several angles, I take it as his attempt to provide wise guidance. He does not intend to just vanish from my son's life, I'm sure. Maybe he only wants me to keep outside of it all. Perhaps he only wants to spare me the suffering still afflicting my heart. Just letting my ideas float about. My best wishes extend to everyone suffering right now. Particularly to those in healing, remain strong and keep cheerful. Comments. OP, your first response and attitude to him calling were exactly perfect. For a teen especially, this is all quite challenging ground to walk. Talk not of his mother, her partner, or their domestic situation. Create an oasis out of yourself and your relationship with your son. Be in his life a non-judging lighthouse. Should the matter come up, avoid pledging yourself to a position. Still keep your distance and objectivity. Find out his short-term bucket list. Perhaps you two might handle a few of those jointly. Luck. I agree absolutely and thank you. Out of our conversations, I make sure to keep any reference to his home situation or anything about his mother away. I concentrate on talking about just him and me and avoid passing opinions. Though it feels like negotiating in the dark, I am trying to assist him with a list. That's the intensity of my affection. I won't give up on him. Thank you for the guidance. I will keep making sure that what we publish is a refuge. My fiancée changed right after I proposed, and now her friends call me toxic. Am I the asshole for wanting to end the engagement? I am 32, just recently proposed to my girlfriend of 2 years Sharon, F30, like a month and a half ago, and it feels like the second the ring got on her finger, her attitude and behavior took a total 180. The entire time we were dating, we seemed exceptionally compatible, and at least it seemed we shared common beliefs and morals. 7 weeks ago, I proposed and she said yes and I felt like it was the happiest moment for the two of us. But not even a week later, it's like her attitude totally flipped. I thought I knew all her friends, but one day I came home and there were 6 women I've never seen before, and Sharon introduced me to them. I was curious as to why I was just now meeting them, when I already met Sharon's 2 best friends, Michelle and Octavia, both not present, over a year and a half ago. Sharon said she wanted to make sure we were a sure thing before I met her inner circle. I found this strange, not to mention it was a weeknight and they were quickly draining my wine rack of wine. Sharon still had her own place, but she stayed with me so often she practically lives there. Still, I found it incredibly rude when they left, with 4 empty bottles of rosé in their wake. I tried to talk to Sharon about having uninvited guests on weeknights and she dismissed my grievance very flippantly. More than that, she brushed me off. The following weeks she went out with the girls several times, and when she brought the girls to my place, twice without notice, once with notice to appease me, her words, they all treated me like a butler, shaking their empty wine glasses at me for refills. After the 4th time, I made it clear that I will get a locked wine rack. Sharon just called me no fun after that. It gets worse. Sharon decided me and the girls got off on the wrong foot, and said we should have dinner together at a nice restaurant. Well, I went and it was not great. The 6 kept prodding me about my life, my house, my career, but deflected every question I asked. It got especially bad at night when they started talking about modern relationships and jealousy, and one of them brought up some key points about relationships that I thought Sharon and I were on the same page about, specifically what-ifs regarding polyamory and being friends with exes. To my shock, Sharon said we shouldn't be too hasty on such decisions, which was a total 180 to how she expressed herself on these things only a month prior, where she was vehemently against keeping ex-intimate partners in friend circles and was staunchly monogamous. The worst part was when the bill arrived, Sharon announced it should be together and slid me the check. I told her she can't be serious, and we got into a bit of an argument. I ended it by putting my amount down in cash and walked out, leaving them to figure out the rest of the bill. The next few days after that, Sharon kept calling me toxic and fragile. But every time I even pushed it, she would give an apology and promise she was just stressed at work. It's nuts, we haven't even planned the wedding yet. The worst part was this Monday. When at work, I got a Nest doorbell alert, checked and saw Sharon and one of her 6 new friends arriving at my place, going in and exiting with my golf clubs. This set was a gift from my father, and it cost a pretty penny too, so Sharon lending it out without my permission got me pissed. I immediately called Sharon and told her and her friend to return the clubs. Sharon tried to gaslight me with, "But you promised to lend the clubs to her boyfriend, remember?" I told her the clubs' cost would move it into a serious crime, and her friend had an hour to return them or the cops would be called. Sharon insisted she got my permission and I told her to cut the crap. Well, not 45 minutes later I got another notification of Sharon and her friend coming back with the clubs and going inside, leaving them, Sharon's friend flipping off the Nest doorbell on the way out. I got home and saw Sharon's friend literally just threw the clubs and back on the living room floor. Sharon tried to talk to me about my toxicity again, and I told her again to cut the crap. I said if I knew this was how she was, I would have never proposed. That seemed to freak her out and she again insisted that she was stressed from work, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her to return the ring and her key and we would talk about our relationship this weekend. She cried and begged me not to cancel the engagement and insisted that it was just stress. I told her again we will talk about it this weekend. She finally relented. I had my house rekeyed anyway after she left, just to be safe. Sharon has been texting me constant messages of love and apologies for getting swept up, and insisted she was only wanting to show me off to her close friends. I don't know, I'm just not buying it. The same close friends have been sending me texts daily, calling me toxic and fragile again. Saying they knew I wasn't man enough for Sharon or secure enough to share her with friends. A few of my friends that knew Sharon the entire 2 years we were dating were surprised and can't believe she turned hide this quick, and that there must be something missing, or that I'm leaving something out. They say I must have said something to trigger her friends to act like this, and I had to have been the somewhere along the process. I don't know, it's a lot to take from all directions right now. Relevant comments. Comment 1. 2 years and she didn't introduce you to these friends. She knows how terrible they are and how terrible she is with them. She put on quite a show to get the ring and now that she thought she had you locked down, she can show her true colors. Unless you are leaving out something, you're definitely NTA. You are not toxic or fragile. You have standards. What she did at the restaurant and with the clubs is toxic. It seems like she wants to show them she has you wrapped around her finger and that you will allow her, and them, to do whatever they want. I wouldn't give her another chance to use you for what you can do or give to her. No one that loves you would treat you like this, friends or no friends present. Comment 2. Agreed. No one hides away an important part of their lives for 2 whole years. I'm wondering if she's had people dump her before because of these friends. Either way, OP's lucky they've seen it all now and can move on from this crazy lady. Though I'd be very tempted to get in touch with her best friends he knew about and see what info they have about the situation. Just because I really am a nosy fucker. Comment 3. OP, if you're stupid enough to even ponder resuming this relationship, just tell her that, given actions to date, you'll be getting a prenup, with a full financial separation, to even consider marrying her. I promise the reaction will be enlightening. Pesa, quit while you're behind, and thank whatever deity you may or may not believe in. She let the mask slip before the wedding. Comment 4. NTA, you said you had met 2 of her friends, Michelle and Octavia, previously. Have they had anything to say about this flipped behavior or the 6 strangers that materialized? Reply, I messaged Michelle on Facebook last night. I asked her about the 6 and she told me that her, Octavia and Sharon are cousins and grew up together. Michelle said that she didn't really care for the 6, but didn't say much else. Oh fuck no dude, you need to end this relationship. She has been putting on a false front the whole time. She knows how toxic they are. She figured now that you had proposed, you couldn't leave. This is who she really is. The person you dated for 2 years? That's a false front to get the proposal. It's like abusers who never hit their spouse until after they are married. They know they need to hide it, because they know it will drive the partner away. They wait till the commitment is deep enough. She showed her hand too fast and too early. Kick her ass to the curb immediately. Call her out on every gaslight. Every time she cries and says she's stressed or whatever, ask her why she lies 100% of the time in front of her friends then. If she's telling the truth, they can come over, and in front of her friends, she will for a whole evening, disagree with them on polygamy, open relationships, your role, they need to be open, etc. etc. Tell her if she's just stressed, She must be willing now to call them and openly admit all of what she was saying with them was untrue. Or, this is who she is. She gave you pleasant fiction when you were alone and it was easy to hide. Now you see who she chooses to be. Who she wants to be. Dump her. Move on. Date Michelle,